Drop your vehicle off. I may be able to help. Call Specialty Truck and Auto, 349-1637.
Are you ready? Dan Fagan and Glen Biegel are here. They're gonna tear it up, rip it down, and shoot it straight. Fagan and Biegel in the morning on Hot Talk, KOAN. And now, Fagan and Biegel.
Well, is this Thursday?
Thursday already.
Yeah!
What was that?
What in the world?
I watched 5 Goes West the other day.
You watch what?
A 5 Goes West. What? Never seen it?
What's the
Is that a
first word?
cartoon?
Yeah, it's a little cartoon.
That sounds
And,
like a cartoon.
Brian's all
From
excited
An
about
American Story.
Yeah, An American Story. It was a Spielberg. It was a Spielberg deal, so it was done really well. A lot of clever lines in it. I mean, you really would be amazed if you listened to it. But anyway, so it was a Western and Little Mouse, and there was a lot of yeehawing going on.
Brian, could you look up the theme song to Underdog?
Yeah.
It reminded me of my favorite cartoon as a kid, Underdog. You guys are way.
I remember Underdog.
I
Did you
remember
really?
it.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman did Underdog.
No, Andy Kaufman wasn't even born when
No,
Underdog.
he would sing it. He would do that as part of his
Oh,
act.
is that right? It was. I think it debuted in 1963, and you weren't even born, were you?
But that was like Bullwinkle, and then Underdog was in that sort of genre.
It's a whole different. No.
Was that Mighty Dog?
Maybe that's what I'm
Brian's
thinking
gonna
of.
pull it out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of
Did he have a cape?
He did.
Oh.
He would bite a nickel. He'd go to the phone booth. He'd bite a nickel, and he'd become Underdog.
No, I don't think I
No,
ever
you
saw
don't.
that.
You guys.
No need to fear.
Here we go.
Underdog is here.
When criminals in this world appear and break the laws that they should fear and frighten all who see or hear, the cry goes up both far and near for underdog. 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 Speed of lightning, roar of thunder, fighting all who love or plunder. Underdog.
Greatest
Yeah,
hero of all time.
that does sound like from the 60s.
Yeah, that's not the one I was thinking of either.
No. I'm the only one old enough to have watched Underdog.
I think it was Mighty Dog.
I think.
And of course,
Mighty-
Batman.
Yeah.
You remember Batman?
Pow, bam,
Oh.
ding, dong.
See, I was thinking Mighty Mouse.
Oh yeah, I remember Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that Mighty Mouse? Play that.
When he hears this mighty sound, here I come to save the day.
Oh, that was who Andy Kaufman was.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Pull up the Batman's theme, the original 60s.
Okay.
That was the greatest theme.
You know
song
our
of all.
YouTube's going to get totally banned in some countries now.
Like what, North Korea or something?
Yeah, it's weird. It doesn't tell me where, but it'll say this content is now not available in some countries. If there was any sort of song played. Okay, original Batman theme.
Yeah, back in the back in the 60s. I'm sorry, my throat is sore because the Pirates lost 8-0 last night. And I was screaming at my television.
That was
Atomic batteries to power.
No, that's
Turbines to
Oh, okay, yeah.
Roger, ready to move out.
I think we should make this our theme song. Crank that.
I want a car for it though.
Who's Robin?
bam,
Girl.
bam, boom, pow.
It was a great show. It was very funny. You know, what was his name? Adam West.
Adam West.
Very funny guy.
Real
see him
dry
on
humor.
Dry
Oh, yeah.
humor. Very funny.
You see him on Family Guy? He plays a character.
I've never watched Family Guy.
Oh my gosh.
It's funny.
Yeah, he plays Adam West.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
All right, here's Amanda Coyne. So much for the notion of loyalty as payback for cronyism. Just ask Anchorage Mayor Dan Sullivan, who was friends with Dan Kendall and served on the Anchorage Assembly with him. While Sullivan was mayor, he put Kendall in a high-paying job in the mayor's office. Later, he placed as the interim CEO at ML&P, where the mayor took heat from at least one reporter, me, questioning the appointment. Consider this, Kendall's only qualifications were that he worked at NSTAR for 30 years as a corrosion technician. During that time, he was a member of the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union and didn't supervise or manage any employees. He was never involved in any of the company's gas supply contracts, regulatory matters, nor participated in the operations or management of the company. He likely never participated in one employee's evaluation while at NSTAR. And then he's the head of one of the largest utilities in the state. Anyhow, Amanda Coyne writes on amandacoyne.com, because of Mayor Sullivan, Kendall got his Tier 1 high 3 years, which significantly enhanced his retirement paycheck. And then he goes and joins the Republicans for Walker Committee and writes an op-ed on Tuesday criticizing Sullivan's running mate, Governor Sean Parnell, all of which confirms the saying about reaping what you sow or something. Dan Kendall's on the show today.
Is he?
Yeah. What do you make of that?
Well, his complaint about Parnell, I think, is genuine.
It's the National Guard thing.
National Guard thing. Too slow to act. Another story about it in the paper today. And I would say that if you did have a complaint about about Parnell, that's probably the most legitimate. And I don't know what part of him led to it. Did he trust Katkus too much? Honestly, normal people hold the military in such high esteem. We have such difficult time. I really think it was that the credibility of the primary witness, the guy who was on the program here, was called into question, and then they called into question all the evidence that he presented, which I think was a mistake. I think
threw the baby out with bathwater.
That's what I think happened, and what I think should happen now is Parnell needs to meet with each and every one of these women who's been assaulted, and he needs to take it personally.
And we should say that the main whistleblower, if you will, was on our broadcast, and he just happened to mention that a recent police officer who was shot, APD police officer, was shot by a fellow police officer. It was a conspiracy that he believed. He also believed that the drug cartel and APD are working in conjunction. So he floated some pretty nutty theories.
Right.
And I had no faith in anything he said after hearing those things. So I can see where the person who met with this whistleblower with the Parnell administration, the more he talked, the less credible he became.
Right. And that was, I think, the difficulty that they had is he definitely had some truth, and in the end, he's a high, what was he, lieutenant colonel or something? That's really high up in the military, very trusted, part of the
National Guard, yeah.
In the National Guard, part of the police, an investigations wing there or whatever. But I don't know. In the end, for Parnell, this was one of those hard cases where people underneath him who did actually talk to this man, they thought, there's no credibility here. We don't know what to make of this guy. I don't trust him. And they had some good reasons not to do that, so they threw everything out. And I don't even know that it got to him. I don't know that Parnell did know. But for sure what we're going to find is there's a lot of stuff here that now that we look back, if we had treated it differently, maybe things would have been a lot better.
My thought is, okay, Parnell was slow to act on the National Guard. So do we elect a guy who's going to go to war with the oil industry and kill the gas line? That's my thought.
Yeah. Well,
614. Kill the gas line.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel. Give him a call. 569-1080. KOAN.
Well, howdy, I'm Nick Worthing. Hey, look, here's a Ford Excursion, just $12,900. And here's a Lincoln Navigator, just $12,900.
Or how about a Mazda 3 for $69.50? or a Ford Focus for just $49.50. And remember, you can use your PFD today. And if you're looking for a new Ford, Friends and Neighbors pricing could save you a lot.
This is your chance to automatically qualify for Ford's Friends and Neighbors pricing, so don't miss it.
Plus, if you've got a trade-in, we need it. Push, pull, or drag it in, and we'll give you top dollar.
Everyone qualifies for this special offer, so hurry on in to Giant Worthington Ford on Gamble.
Documents 03 Focus 143537 and 04 Excursion 2095220 07 Navigator 1429708 05 Monster 3 1435388. Friends and Neighbors pricing excludes Raptor MKC and Fleet on approved credit. Subject requires sales. See dealer for details. Ends 10/2/2014.
I'm Bill Walker, independent candidate for governor. Byron Malott and I set partisanship aside to form a unified ticket to lead Alaska. My mentor, Wally Hickles, said, during the early days of Alaska, it wasn't them and us, it was all of us.
I'm Byron Malott, candidate for lieutenant governor. Bill Walker and I share a passionate belief in the future of Alaska. Our history is one of uniting to overcome even the greatest of odds. Our best achievements come when we put Alaska first.
Paid for by Bill Walker for governor.
Hi, I'm Cliff Grove, chair of Last Common Ground. I'm inviting you to a free public forum on Alaska's fiscal future this Saturday, October 4th, at the Wildemarson Theater at the Lusac Library. It's an all-day forum from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. You can pick the parts you want to go to. Lunch will be available for a small fee, or you can bring your own. At this forum, we will be taking a nonpartisan look at the big picture of Alaska's public finances and help Alaskans understand Alaska's fiscal future and how we can live with less. This Saturday, October 4th, at the Wildemarson Theater. See you there.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080 KOAN.com.
Check out weekdays.com. It's your time.
Fagan and Biegel.
$6:17 in the morning. Good morning, Thursday morning. Hope you're doing well. It didn't feel as chilly this morning as it had been.
Oh, it's mild.
Did it warm up a bit, or is that my imagination?
It did warm up a bit, and it's got to stay warm through this weekend so I can get my shed done.
The important things in life.
That's right. Hopefully, somebody upstairs knows that and looking out for me.
You know, I would love to have a wife and a family. I really would. But there are also times when I hear stuff like that I think, thank God I don't have a wife and a family.
Or a washer and dryer.
Or a washer and dryer. Yeah.
We were at the laundromat the other day, my daughter and I, and she said, "Do you think we'll see Dan Fagan here today?"
At the laundromat?
Yeah, because they do laundry over there. They do people's laundry, and I thought of you.
I'm in there for like 2 seconds.
Well, she wondered.
I could pay a visit.
It's cute.
To your house, sign autographs if you like.
She probably would.
569.
Go there and do some laundry.
Although sometimes she doesn't like you very much.
No, I'm sure. I scream at her mother.
Is Dan gonna scream at you today? That's what she says.
569-1080. Let's go to Joe. Joe, you're on.
Good morning, crew.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Hey, Dan, I was just thinking. Quite a few years ago, you said you were going to give me the whole show if I'd let you talk.
I told you. I think what I said was, because this is what I say often, is that, Joe, if you just let me talk, I'll give you the whole show to talk.
Yeah, okay, well,
right.
I'm going to take you up on that offer.
All right. To be honest with you, I'd like to take tomorrow off. You want to come in?
Hey, I tried. Eddie Burke gave me 15 minutes of co-hosting, and I'm going to tell you, your guys' job is tough. I couldn't do it.
You know, it's funny that you say that, Joe, because I used to be of that opinion. But since I've been doing this show is like butter to me.
You're natural at it.
Well, no, I'm not natural at it. When I hosted my own show, and I've had other co-hosts, and I would get to the point where I'm at the last 15 minutes of a 3-hour broadcast, and I'm thinking to myself, how did I make it this far?
You guys got a good chemistry there.
But this show is so easy to do.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes people that are that are good at things don't really notice that they are good at things. You guys got a good crew, Bonnie and Glenn. Glenn and I had a couple conversations this winter.
Yeah. I mean, clearly Bonnie's the weak link here. I mean,
Obviously.
Obviously. But
War on women.
Why I oughta.
Why I gotta.
War on women.
You know what, though? It's true. I used to listen to Dan and Glenn and, all kinds of talk shows, and I think, they should have said this, or they should have said that, or, and it is a lot more difficult than I ever thought it would be. So.
I know. And when Eddie had me on, he had to keep reminding me, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. And, hey, what do you guys think about Eddie's afternoon show? He has come a long way. He is that hot talk radio man.
He's a very different man than he was.
He is, and I think you helped him a little bit in the early days, Dan. But he turned out to be really good. As you know, we were polling for Bill Walker to be governor, and the crux of my call was the National Guard debacle. I think that Sean Parnell should resign because National Guard playing grab ass with our women for 5 years and 37 cases.
What do you like about Walker specifically?
I like his honesty. I like the way he reasons. He doesn't have somebody sitting on his shoulder with a club telling him what to do. Bill Walker would sit at a table not on the same side as the oil companies, but and at the same time not be their enemy. But we're in concession with the oil, with the gas line right now, and we're not going to get what we want. Bill Walker says he's not going to undo what Parnell has done, but Parnell, over the many debates they had 4 years ago, and being on TV and this and that, and Bill Walker's knowledge of oil and gas, Glenn and Bonnie, has taught Sean Parnell what to do about the gas line.
Joe, did you
as
vote
governor?
Did you vote for Malott in the primary?
No, I didn't. I didn't vote.
So you were a Walker guy all the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just know that that they've got a team going. Bill Walker is in the #1 spot. The Democrats are going to have to take their lumps, and they know that. They're not going to get practically anything they want, but at least they're going to get a governor that's going to listen to them. And there might be some little things here and there that Walker can do.
Oh, there's some big things, Joe. Come on now. They don't even agree on fisheries issues. Walker is for our Constitution, and Malott's not for the Constitution.
But
the Democrats are giving up on having rural people have priority access to fish.
Malott is not in a power position at all. We need to have Dan Sullivan, Mayor Dan Sullivan, finish out his term, those 5 or 6 extra months of him being in office for Anchorage. You know what can happen in a short period of time in Anchorage if we get a left-winger in there that's going to raise our property taxes.
Well, yes on AO37 has got to be critical. You got to vote yes on AO37 in order to keep that law, so at least they can't negotiate crazy contracts.
And you know, union people are not my enemy. In fact, I got many friends that are in unions, and unions are good at a certain point. Moderation. You can't let them get going too far, otherwise you look in your pocketbook, there ain't gonna be nothing there.
You can't let them on both sides of the negotiating table.
Right. But anyhow, the crux of my call, Parnell should resign because of the National Guard debacle.
Well, I guess there's a few parts of your call I just don't understand.
Go for it. Ask me a question.
Yeah, and the first one you said there's not going to be somebody on Walker's shoulder telling him what to do.
He's his own man. He's a self-made man.
No,
he's not.
This ticket came about from the AFL-CIO telling him that you guys have to join.
Came about by 4 different people. 2 people had to quit in order to make this work. It
was Tom Begich.
It
was Vince Beltrami. It was Tom Begich and Vince Beltrami, and Tom Begich acting on Mark Begich's behalf.
Well, it was Beltrami.
Wicked beast?
It was Beltrami's cash that made this happen.
Yeah.
Because the government forces government employees to give Vince Beltrami a bunch of cash just to have a job. And Beltrami took that cash and said, you guys want my cash, then I need you to do this.
But why? I don't understand why you don't think Vince Beltrami is really who we're electing governor. Why do you think that?
Because Bill Walker is in the #1 spot. The lieutenant governor has no power at all. Zero.
No. The AFL-CIO, he's a big union guy.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know
Does that
he's the
give you a little
president
bit
of
of
the union.
pause? I mean, a little bit of pause?
No, not at all. Because you know what?
I thought you said you didn't want unions on both sides of the negotiating table. I guess I don't understand. I see this as an AFL-CIO
no,
ticket.
oil. I was talking the oil.
Got a shot of her.
Oil companies being on the same side of the table as Parnell, and then look what we got. If you guys voted no on ballot 1, measure 1,
Yeah.
well, you're feeling a little used because we're losing 500 Exxon jobs, and oil production is predicted to go down.
Well, it's not Exxon jobs. It was BP, but BP sold its assets to Hillcorp.
No. This is new news if you didn't hear it.
Oh, I didn't hear it. What is it?
Yeah, 500 Exxon employees are being laid off
Where at?
in Prudhoe Bay.
No, Joe, you're wrong. I mean, look, the Alaska Dispatch would be doing cartwheels if that were the case.
No.
They print
okay,
7 books on
Okay,
it.
can you at least do this and inquire a little bit? Because I heard it. This is how I heard it from Mark Baggett. Mark Baggett came on another radio show.
Yeah, it was the steering clip, and he misspoke.
He was talking about BP, and it was
How the hell
475
did
and
this
200. So yeah, you heard something that you thought was true for Mark Baggage.
How do you misspeak about saying something like that?
Oh, well, then, that is a great question. How did Mark Baggage, because he wants something to be true so long. First of all, he knows that Exxon does not have nearly as good a name as BP. So he would, and BP, in all likelihood, will be helping Mark Baggage.
Switch cameras.
And with the
Right?
money being spent on that
Joe, this is very important.
It should have been a hell of a lot
I
more
really-
bigger spread than 5%.
I really want you to focus with me on this. There is a reason why Mark Baggage did not want to use BP's name in any negative light, and he used Exxon's name.
I'm not a future teller.
You
But
vote
you
for
go
Baggage,
it.
Joe?
What's that?
You vote for Baggage?
I'm undecided.
Come on,
Senator
Joe.
Ray.
You're voting for Baggage.
I'm hung up
Come
on
on,
the-
Joe.
Oh, Joe, you're so cute. I would
No,
pinch
no,
your cheek.
no,
If
no.
I was anywhere near you, I'd pinch your little cheek. Come on.
If I'm hung up on immigration.
Oh,
and
Joe,
double mine.
your fingers already.
Hey, yes,
Double mine. You think the EPA should roll in here and take away, steal our state lands without a public process?
Hey, being an independent is not an easy job. It's not being an
It
independent.
must not
an
be.
easy
You got to
job.
make up a lot of stories. I'll tell you. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about, look, was Bill Walker. He said he won't undo what Sean Parnell had done on Point Thompson, but he's got a lawsuit right now, and I don't understand your position on it. He's got a lawsuit to undo.
You know,
he's got a lawsuit.
my position on it is let Bill Walker do the talking about oil gas.
But
Nobody
when
knows
he
more
talked,
about
Jonathan
oil, gas
Katchen
than
was
Bill Walker.
on the program yesterday, and he said he lied 3 times, and 3 specific times, 3 important times.
Bill Walker
on
did, not
Bill Walker.
Bill Walker.
That
used to be
look,
our governor.
you came in. The first things you said was he's honest and he's got reason.
You guys listen to the Eddie Burke show this afternoon, and I'll tell you what, you're going to get a lot. He gets a lot of callers. There's so many people going Walker's way, and this is about time. It's about due. This is refreshing. This is something, and like I said, the Democrats are not going to get anything out of this practically.
You know what, Joe? We
But
got to
what they're going to do is they're going to be, at least they're going to be light.
I wish Joe would have answered my questions because I thought I had good
We got to
questions.
take a break, Joe. Thanks for calling, though. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie, 649.
at South High School in Anchorage. The plan has been controversial with nearby residents who say a stadium may bring a huge increase in traffic and noise to the area. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has published some aerial photographs of the estimated 35,000 Pacific walrus on Alaska's northwest coast, about 700 miles from Anchorage. That's your Hot Talk News Update.
Mostly sunny skies for today, high 48. Tonight, cold with patchy clouds, low 29. Cloudy for tomorrow, high 43. Friday night, low 33. Saturday, mostly cloudy skies. You'll see a bit of snow with little to no accumulation. High Saturday, 43. Sunday, partly sunny, high 40. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather. KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Parking space 105A. To many, it's just 130 square feet of publicly allotted tarmac, unless you own a 2014 Mercedes-Benz CLA. With its muscular, seductive look and distinctive diamond block grille, that parking space is transformed into a stage that showcases to others what groundbreaking style can be. And as you pull away, thanks to the turbocharged inline-4 engine, parking space 105A transforms again, this time into a launching pad. See the world differently. See it in a CLA from Mercedes-Benz, whose vehicles retain their value better than any other premium brand, according to ALG. Get the 2014 CLA 254 Matic starting at just $31,900.
MSRP for 2014 CLA 254 Matic excludes all options, taxes, title, registration, transportation charge, and dealer prep. Options, while availability and actual dealer price may vary. Some equipment described as optional. See dealer for details.
Mercedes-Benz of Anchorage. The best or nothing.
You know, it's getting to the end of the season for fresh silvers, and if you haven't filled your freezer for the winter, this is definitely the weekend to do it. Right now, at New Sagayan City Market, you can buy the whole silver salmon for just $4.99 a pound. Whole fish, we'll clean them, and you can put them in the freezer, $4.99 a pound. New Sagayan City Market. Oh, it's so popular. We're featuring fresh Hawaiian-style poke again this week. The great marinated fish with spices and onions and stuff, and a great big favorite in Anchorage as well as in the islands. Fresh Hawaiian poke, just $9.99 a pound. Of course, you'll find it at New Sagayan City Market. Family loves pork chops? Well, New Sagayan City Market have the economical way to buy them. Get the big family pack of fresh pork chops, just $3.49 a pound. And if a family pack is too big for dinner tonight, take out what you need and freeze the rest. Low price, $3.49 a pound, fresh pork chops, New Sagayan City Market. The apples are as sweet as honey and as crisp as a November morning. So they're called Honey Crisp Apples. Great flavor, great eating, $1.89 a pound. New Sagayan, Midtown City Market, 13th and I.
Is your IT department burdened with first-line support calls about printer jams and broken printers? Are individual departments purchasing expensive printer cartridges that get buried in office supply budgets? Is your printer support strategy really a printer replacement plan? Let Alaska Enterprise Solutions show you how to reduce those high print costs. AES is a Xerox professional agency in Alaska with Xerox's worldwide support behind them. You can reach us at aesalaska.com or 561-5100.
When Malarkey Mark Begich ran for U.S. Senator, he made a lot of claims about his record as Anchorage mayor. Begich knew the truth wouldn't come to light before the election. But now, history is caught up with Malarkey Mark. Under Begich, Anchorage taxes went up 27%. Under Begich, the city budget ballooned, a $142 million increase in spending. Under Begich, the city was saddled with unprecedented 5-year union contracts. Under Begich, a deficit of over $20 million was left for the next mayor to deal with. Begich left Anchorage in serious trouble. Alaska's Energy America's Values paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. It's time to replace Malarkey Mark with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com.
When I grew up, I wanted to be a pro basketball player.
An elementary school teacher. Oh, an Olympic gymnast.
No matter what dream you choose or where you are in life, your local Country Financial representative offers helpful advice on everything from auto and home insurance to financial planning, education to retirement, and business insurance too, so that you can continue to grow and dream. For more information, visit countryfinancial.com or call 1-866-COUNTRY. Country Financial. Grow your own way.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN.
You can pick the parks you want to go to. Lunch will be available for a small fee, or you can bring your own. At this forum, we will be taking a nonpartisan look at the big picture of Alaska's public finances and help Alaskans understand Alaska's fiscal future and how we can live with less. This Saturday, October 4th at the Wilder-Marson Theater. See you there.
Fagan.
.636, Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, Bonnie Cameron here on KOAN, KVNT. Good morning to you. Our number 569-1080. 569-1080. Vince Beltrami and his group is raising a ton of money to help Walker. Let me ask you guys a question, Bill or Glenn and Bonnie. I understand we have a significant amount of government employees in the state, federal, state, local. And it by no means do I believe that these government employees are leftists. Many of them are, but not all of them. But the average citizen out there in Alaska, you really get what the unions are about? Do they really get what Vince Beltrami really wants? Do they get that, or do they look at the unions as, oh, they're helping the poor? You know, I remember when I first got back into town, Vince Beltrami, one of the ADN blogs, I guess it was Amanda Coyne wrote, Dan Fagan's coming back and starting the show. And Vince Beltrami went on there and said, Dan Fagan has been working against working families in Alaska for years. You know, the poor working families that make, $140,000 working for the government and can retire at 50 and make, full salary for 40 years. But do you think the average Alaskan gets that we have a ruling class, the government employee, union member? Or do you think they look at Beltrami as a real hero of the, middle class, of the can barely make it and barely make ends meet at the dinner table? How do you think the average Alaskan looks at Beltrami and his union power?
My guess is there's lots of different people with lots of different views. So if I was to take the average person, I think that they view most of what the unions say about representing the average middle class person as false.
Well, they do. So they're all into his game.
That's my guess, because they're trying so hard to sell it. For instance, here's a good example. The no on one, we're arguing Anchorage Ordinance 37. You need to vote yes. That the no on one people put up a very young firefighter, because if the firefighter was a little bit older, he would make so much more money than the average person in the city of Anchorage. People would go like, what the heck are you talking about? You're representing safety and you're representing the average citizen.
Even the young firefighter will make so much more than the average private sector worker.
No, that's very true. But it gets, by the time you're 45, by the time you've been there almost 20 years, you're making 3 times as much as the average person who lives in the city of Anchorage. So obviously, there's a difficulty there. So they have a smaller and smaller set of their own group who's even able to make the argument that Vince Beltrami constantly makes, and that is, I'm speaking for you. You average person out there is making $50,000 a year and gets $10,000 in benefits. I am on your side. He's not on your side. He's taking as much of your income as he possibly can and transferring it to his people, or making, on average, 2.5 times the average salary of a person in Anchorage, and they get 3 times the benefits of the average person in Anchorage. That's who they are. Now, whether or not some people believe it, I'll tell you this, people want to believe it.
But like Bonnie talks about her friend who works for the government that absolutely loathes Dan Sullivan because he stands up
Dan
to
Sullivan.
But Mayor Dan Sullivan.
And don't they work for the police?
Yes.
Okay, they work for the police.
What does your friend make, do you know?
She said that the figures in that they produced, the policy forum produced for
were
us
wrong,
lately,
but they were low.
They were wrong, but she gets more than that.
What did they say she made?
I think it was 90-some thousand.
With benefits?
With benefits.
So
yes.
that does not include the benefits.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so she was saying that she actually makes more than that, but she's still worried about her retirement and benefits and
what does she do?
Stuff.
Dispatcher, something like that?
No, she's
you don't have to say.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, I want to know the job to see if it's.
She's she's in, it's a desk job basically.
90,000.
She's
Yeah. Not a lot of desk jobs in the private sector pay 90,000.
Right. She does plowing sometimes too. They you know.
Aw. I don't know a lot of plow
You
people
mean
who
it's a
make
side
grain.
business?
No, they have to do their own plowing out there in the.
What? That is
Can
outrageous.
you believe
So
it?
you're talking about her government job
Signs
involves her plowing the driveway.
The impound lot, yes.
So she works at the impound lot. And what's her name again?
No. Like she's my best friend.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Does she listen?
No, she's working.
Yeah. She doesn't have a radio in her office?
They are not allowed to listen.
Oh. So we can tell them how wealthy they are.
Right. But, I was thinking about it when you were talking about average voter. And honestly, I don't think the average voter even knows the name Vince Beltrami. And for the most part, people think union. They see the union yes signs, the bumper stickers. They think it's a good thing. I even did not come to the conclusion that public sector unions should not be, period. We should not have public sector unions. That is a new idea for me. It didn't occur to me until just a couple years ago. And so, no, I do not think the average voter knows anything about it.
I think she's right. I think you're wrong. I think most people don't get what Bill Walker and Vince Beltrami are all about.
Yeah, they don't even know that name.
Now, people who listen to talk radio do.
Sure.
So you think if you went out and said, does the public sector unions represent the average person? You think most people would say what?
I think the average person, the person you'd run into at the Sears Mall who has never listened to Rick Rydell or Glen Biegel or Dan Fagan, would say, yeah, the unions are good. They help the working people.
Yeah, they represent them.
I think the average low information voter would believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even know, they don't even understand that public sector union members have become the ruling class, the wealthiest among us.
Unless it affects them, unless they have a private snow plowing business, and they want to go and plow the school district's yard for half the price of what the school district will pay a union person.
Yes.
Then they'll understand it. When it impacts their life, then they'll quickly understand it.
Can you imagine if somehow some miracle would happen and we stood up to the unions and privatized most of what they do? Not police and fire, but snow plowing, everything, IT, all that stuff.
Janitors, yeah.
Janitors.
Right.
Can you imagine how much property taxes would drop in this town?
Yes.
It would be 40, 50%.
Right.
Yeah, I mean there are some towns that actually have privatized much of what the public sector does, and the reason is for those out there who don't know, is our public sector unions keep the technology, the efficiency about 20 years behind where the private sector is.
Yep.
And you will look out there and you'll try to find, places where people are answering phones the same way that they used to. They just don't. You have to automate. You have to keep automating. You have to get onto the website. You have to get people so that they're doing self-service stuff. I mean, kiosks and all these kinds of things. 20 years behind. And for IT, that is devastating. Well, if you get into an IT job at the state or the municipality, you will rapidly lose your usable skill set in IT because they're simply not using current technology.
And the reason for that, Glenn, is that if you introduce new technology, the union boss is going to say, wait a minute, we're going to lose half of our employees if we use this technology.
Well, actually, it didn't even get that far. You'll say, okay, well, we're going to use this new group. You can't fire the old people.
Yeah.
So that means you just have to hire a whole new set of people. And at some point, it's just not cost effective. And so this is the difficulty with the employees being able to tell their bosses, this is what we will and what we won't accept.
Even FDR.
Yeah, even FDR.
Said we should not have public sector unions. 644, Fagan, Biegel, Amani. Public sector union. 644, Fagan, Biegel, Amani.
Join the KOAN.
Tomcat kills up to 12 mice per bait block, faster than Decon. What will we do with all of these dead mice? Tomcat presents Dead Mouse Theater, and the critics are raving. They solved my mouse problem and renewed my faith in theater. I like my mice dead, but dead mice that can act are even better. Tomcat got the mice out of my walls, onto the stage, and into my heart. Dead Mouse Theater, open to the public this fall at tomcat.com. Tomcat. Engineered to kill. 1 ounce bait block based on no choice lab tests. Time for lethal dose to death.
It's said that character is what you do when no one is watching. If that's the case, then Senator Kathy Giesel has the sort of character that is needed in Juneau. Away from the photo ops or flashy media events, Kathy Giesel hits the books just like she did in nursing school. For the past 4 years, Senator Giesel has worked hard for you, studying the impact of greater access to immunizations for Alaska's kids, crafting legislation that frees up business owners to expand and hire more Alaskans, and working to improve the infrastructure like roads and schools, not just for this generation, but for generations of Alaskans to come. This election is more than just about promises or bullet points. It's about sending the right person to Juneau with the character to act on behalf of us when we can't watch. We need someone with the character to do the hard work when no one is watching, to make decisions we can trust. We need to re-elect Senator Kathy Giesel.
Paid for by re-elect Senator Kathy Giesel for Senate. 12701 Ridgewood Road, Anchorage, Alaska, 99516.
This is Dr. Ellenberg. Are you tired of taking medications? Do your medications create more side effects than solutions? Do you want more than 15 minutes with your doctor? If you answer yes to those questions, you should consider calling the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine. At our center, we take the time to listen and focus on finding the cause of your health problems. Whether you have a cold, high blood pressure, diabetes, or cancer, we can help. Call the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine at 563-2366 or visit us online at drellenberg.com. We can help.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel.
Or the Alaska Lottery kiosk on the first floor of the 5th Avenue Mall. You don't have to be present to win, but you gotta play to win. Brought to you by Greater Anchorage Inc., Fur-Ronde, and Alaska Lottery.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning on the Talk of the Valley, KVNT.
6:47 in the morning, Thursday morning, October 2nd. Welcome to the Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, Bonnie Cameron Show on KOAN, KVNT in the Valley. We're on 4 different signals, 95.1 in Anchorage, 92.5 in the Valley on FM, AM 1080 in Anchorage, AM 1020 in the Valley. Our number 569-1080. Glen Biegel is like an onion.
I make people cry. I taste bad.
You smell bad.
He's layered. You learn things about him all the time. You keep peeling stuff.
Why does this sound like new news to you? He's said it like a bunch of times.
That he started a school?
Yes.
I've never heard.
He has said it on air.
What do you mean, like
times.
on his show?
No,
here.
Dina Paramo. I said that I helped write the law. I started a school. I was on the board
I've never heard that you
schools.
Started your own school.
Yeah.
I
Family
have no
partnership.
So how do you start a school?
You get a group of sponsoring parents who have an idea about how they want to do the school, and then you go into negotiations with the Anchorage School District.
This is why you hated Carol Como so bad.
Yeah, she ended up running me off of the Family Partnership Parent Advisory Council.
How could she take you off?
She's such a controlling. She's so clever. First of all,
Well, you hated her, man.
I appreciate people who are good at what they do. And what she wanted was the semblance of choice without there being choice.
Mm-hmm.
That was really her goal. She was made very uncomfortable by. She really hated people's religious values. And she was constantly in battle with us about what could be used, what couldn't be used, where it could be used. She kept trying to force teachers in between children and their materials.
Mm-hmm.
She constantly did that. I mean, it was aggravating. It was maddening. Well, look, we're Christians, we're Catholics. We want to make sure that the children have good foundations in the moral teaching. But she did everything she could possibly do. She went to the state school board. She went to legislators. She did everything she could. She was constantly undermining.
She was feeling her control slipping.
Oh, man. It was impressive, though. because she outmaneuvered us on the board, she outmaneuvered us at the school district level. It was constant, and she was just so good at it. I was just looked at how far and how fast and how swiftly she undermined us.
So if there was like, what specifically did she do?
Okay, what she did was whenever she would put teachers in the middle of your homeschool. So anything that you did had to be checked by a teacher.
You don't get to pick your own teachers?
Every paper. But see, here's the problem. In public schools, teachers don't have to look at religious materials. So if you put the teacher in charge of giving grades, if you put the teacher in charge of validating materials and all these other things, I mean, you had to go through an approval process, and what you do is you end up crowding out all religious instruction.
Mm-hmm.
And that was her goal, that was her purpose, that was what she was all about, and she was very successful at it. Most people agree, okay, well, we don't want a teacher to be having to grade religious materials. Okay, well, that's normal. Well, how about we minimize the influence of teachers in the process of the homeschool? How about we trust parents? Which that was the founding principle of the school. We trust parents.
So your
we
kids
like
went to the
homeschools.
school?
Yeah.
Now you parted ways with it.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, just because she was great at her job. Her job was giving the semblance
So she
of
turned
choice.
it into something you didn't want.
But now
Yeah.
that she's gone, what's your reason for?
We ended up having such disheartening discussions with the teachers who were forced onto the Parent Advisory Council. There were a certain number of teachers who were on there. And I would go in there, and every time I would come out, because they so distrusted parents. Oh, we can't trust parents
Mhm.
to make these decisions. Honestly, there are some parents out there who are they're just not very smart about, they don't have their child's best interest. They don't even know what their child's into. We have these discussions over and over and over again, and I would think, I literally do not want to spend my time trying to convince some teacher that I have the best interest of my child at heart. I don't have time for that. I'm not interested in that. So I started looking outside of family partnership for other homeschool opportunities. IDEA, it turned out, had a much broader and much more, they were much more willing to believe that parents wanted the best for their
Well, and that's because they're not part of the Anchorage School District.
Yeah, and they wanted to attract, they're a statewide correspondence homeschool program, and they wanted to attract people. So they made their programs attractive versus Carol Como's control of our family partnership. They tried to make it as unattractive and as difficult as
Yes. But Glenn, that's the thing about you. You're a doer. I mean, you don't just pontificate. You get in there and you make a difference.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It is. I mean, I complain a lot, but really I'm not involved that much.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of having you guys come down with me and do some 40 Days for Life, some prayer in front of the abortion clinic.
Wow. I've always wanted to.
It's football season.
Oh my goodness.
You could pray for the saints. You could pray for, there's all kinds of things I suppose you could pray for. I don't know.
You're going to hell.
Well, it doesn't have to be done during football time. Okay, let's just be honest.
That's like when my dad used
Plenty
to
of
stay
other
home from church to watch football.
You don't go to church. during
It's a
football religious.
religious
Can't you,
experience.
we
Who
have
goes to
DVR
church?
now.
Who goes to church during football season? That's just weird.
Anyway.
Oh.
No. I
Don't
made
sit
this
close to me.
I made this very strange decision in 1993, and it's the same decision anybody could make, that I just wanted to get involved. So I got involved with a whole series of things. I ran for office. I got involved with the Republican Party. I got involved with Alaska Right to Life, and this charter school law, and then charter schools and schools in general.
And you're still involved. I'll call. I'm going to this meeting.
Yeah.
With who? A bunch of right-wing nuts. He's going. You
I never
still
would
go
say
to all
right-wing
the, I know
nuts, but-
you do say that, but that's what I hear in my head.
Yeah.
When he tells me who it is, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I know those people.
Hey, I saw him at a lot of those meetings.
Yeah.
Well, what I
But
found
you
is
spend a lot of time outside. I mean, you got 100 kids. You work full time.
it's 90 kids.
Plus,
I'm honest.
you have a 3-hour day job here. I mean, you gotta. So you 8 hours at the railroad, 3 hours here. It's 11 hours of working a day. Plus, you got 100 kids. Plus, you go to all these meetings.
Full life.
When do you sleep? He doesn't.
I sleep a little every once in a while.
But what drives you?
Well, I just I just can't believe this country's such a gift.
Oh,
there's no doubt about
amazing.
it. My family's a gift. Everything is a gift to me. So at times I see other people who are doing amazing things, and I just thought to myself, I could be one of those people. I should be, shouldn't we? So I don't know. I just figured at some point somebody's got to step up, and that's what I did.
569-1080, David, you're on.
Hey, good morning, Glenn.
Morning.
I am the person that voted for you.
The person.
Yay! Hey, I got 30% in the primary. I did a lot of work. I knocked on 1,500 doors.
How much money you raised?
$7,000.
Wow. When was that?
It was 1996. It was a good year. I was 28 years old.
Here. Well, that was the year I got here. So anyway, and he only has 92 kids. So there.
By the way, David is one of the people who I look up to. I mean, here's a
David
guy.
Boyle, lots of policy for him.
He's not being paid for what he does. He's constantly working and constantly putting forth.
What motivates you, David?
I guess what motivates me is my belief system. I love the country, and I love Alaska, but I love the country the most. I hear all these candidates. The first thing that comes out of their mouth, I don't care what party they're from, I'm a lifelong Alaskan.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what my counter to that is? I'm a lifelong American.
Mm.
And I don't care how long they've lived in Alaska. But anyway, motivates me is you have to do something good in your life. And
even during football season.
Yeah, let's not get over it.
Too bad about those LSU Tigers. But anyway.
Oh, man.
But, people just kind of have humdrum lives, and it's like when you get, and I'm 70 now, so when you get kind of towards the end, you think, I have to do something. I have to do something for people. And I've kind of focused, as you're well aware, on education, because that's the future of our country. It sounds trite, but it is true. And we are going to, hell in a handbasket as far as education goes. And because the public system as an institution is not focused on the customer.
Did you hear Dina Paramo on the show earlier this week or last week?
No, I was out of state. I didn't, and I was really busy at a national convention. But I really like Dina Paramo because I consider that school district up there enlightened.
She's the superintendent for the Master's School.
I believe it was Tuesday she was on.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she is enlightened, and their former school board, of course, was enlightened as well. And they like charter schools. And Dina Paramo says, bring on school choice. I can compete head to head with them. And that's why they have
7 charter schools.
Yep.
And they have 17,000 students. Anchorage has 50,000 students, and they've got 9 charter schools. So clearly, there's a big difference in philosophy.
Right. And I don't know what their waiting list is like up there, but since I've been here, well, my goodness, the waiting list has been well over 2,000 children.
Hey, David, stay on the line. I want to take a break, but I want to ask you a question when we come back.
Okay.
All right, now, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie on this Tuesday morning, KVNT in the Valley, KOAN in Anchorage. The time currently, 6:58. The time currently, 6:58.
Well, we are quietly sneaking up on the Halloween season, so let's talk pumpkins. Bell's warm greenhouses are currently home to thousands of potentially very scary pumpkins, and all of them have plenty of character to make your jack-o'-lantern the scariest ever. Best pumpkins, best prices right now at Bell's. By the way, if you've been meaning to get your baskets and tubs into Bell's for wintering over, Specking Road Bell's is full at this point, but Bell's at Cranberry Road has a little room left. You don't want delivery is free. Gift shop at Specking Road. There's a nice special on those great smart wool socks. All of them are 25% off. And maybe you should come this weekend with a friend, because this weekend at Specking Road, lattes are 2 for the price of 1, and C's candy bars are 2 for the price of 1. So obviously this would be a good weekend to go shopping with somebody. Remember, October 23, 24, and 25 are the dates for the big Zappi Silver Restoration Clinic at Bell's on Specking Road. Call 345-4476 to make your appointment with the experts from Zappi's. Bell's Nursery and Gifts on Specking Road and Bell's Nursery in Cranberry Road.
KOAN Anchorage. It's not just talk, it's hot talk. 95.1 FM, 1080 AM.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster. 4 people related to a man with Ebola in Dallas are now under quarantine as a precaution. Health officials are keeping an eye on others who may have been in contact with him. Here's Fox's John Roberts.
In what federal health officials call a drop ball, the Dallas hospital where Thomas Eric Duncan first sought treatment last Thursday sent him home, despite the fact he told them he had just arrived from Liberia. Hospital official Dr. Mark Lester says for some reason that information was not passed on to doctors.
Regretfully, that information was not fully communicated throughout the pool team.
2 days later, Duncan came back to the hospital in an ambulance. Dallas County health officials say he may have come in contact with more than 80 people before being put in isolation.
Plans for up to 1,000 small clinics for Ebola patients in Sierra Leone announced at a conference on the disease in London. Today's court hearing for the man suspected of kidnapping a University of Virginia student's moved to December. No explanation given. This was for reckless driving charges. Jesse Leroy Matthew Jr. picked up losing a police tail. He was arrested last week in Texas. Still no sign of Hannah Graham. She's been missing since September 13th. More airstrikes in Syria. Fox News Radio's Simon Owen reports.
Chris, there's a focus on the Kurdish town of Kobani in Syria, right on the border with Turkey, from where something like 160,000 people have fled in recent days. Islamic State militants are said to have the town almost surrounded. Kurdish fighters, backed by US-led airstrikes, are trying to push them back. If the militants were able to take Kobani, they'd control a long stretch of the Syria-Turkey border. This coming as Turkey's parliament debates joining the US-led coalition to take on Islamic State. So far, Turkey hasn't said what role it plans to play, Chris.
England's Prince William and his wife Kate threatening legal action against a photographer they say is stalking their son, Prince George, and his nanny. You're listening to Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
It takes a lot of courage to face your own death, but I'm glad I finally did. See, I was putting off getting life insurance to protect my family, even though I knew it was important. Then my neighbor's husband died. I watched her struggle emotionally and financially. It really made me face reality. If my husband died, how would I pay the mortgage, the car payments, or keep up the life the kids and I had? I realized I needed to get us life insurance right away. So I called AIG Direct. In less than 5 minutes, I had a quote. I was shocked at how affordable it is. Just $14 a month for $250,000 of term life coverage. I feel so much better knowing my family has protection.
Call AIG Direct right now for a free no-obligation quote. The call takes less than 5 minutes, and you can save up to 70%. Call now, 1-800-530-6922. That's 1-800-530-6922. 1-800-530-6922.
Well, howdy, I'm Nick Worthington, Ford Giant, Worthington Ford. And folks, we're having a huge sale.
Right now, you can get friends and neighbors pricing automatically on these beautiful new 2014s. That's the official pricing set by Ford.
And you can use your PFD today. Look, here's a Ford Excursion, just $12,900. And here's a Lincoln Navigator, just $12,900.
Or how about a Mazda 3 for $69,500? Or a Ford Focus for just $49,500. And remember, you can use your PFD today. And if you're looking for a new Ford, Friends and Neighbors pricing could save you a lot.
This is your chance to automatically qualify for Ford's Friends and Neighbors pricing, so don't miss it.
Plus, if you've got a trade-in, we need it. Push, pull, or drag it in, and we'll give you top dollar.
Everyone qualifies for this special offer, so hurry on in to Giant Worthington Ford on Gamble.
Stock numbers 03 Focus 1435378, 04 Excursion 20952A, 07 Navigator 1439708, 05 Mazda 3 1435388. Friends and Neighbors pricing excludes Raptor MKC and Fleet Deals. On approved credit, subject to prior sale. See dealer for details. Ends 10/2/2014.
After a long day on the trail, there's nothing like a good plate of grub. What's for dinner? Quiche. Quiche. Real men don't eat quiche. They punch cows and talk tough and use coupons.
Yeah, coupons?
Yeah, that's right. Valpak coupons that you get in the mail.
Check out Valpak Values, Allstate Insurance, Papa John's Pizza, Alaska Car Transport, Party Craft, Great Alaska Pizza, Tire Factory, and Creative Audio and Remote Starts.
A lot of people are asking, what has Sean Parnell done for Alaska?
Well, since Sean Parnell became our governor, Alaska's economy added more than 16,000 new jobs. That's helped families all across the state. And with the natural gas pipeline on the horizon, you can bet there are more jobs coming.
Since Sean Parnell became our governor, high school graduation rates are on the rise. Thousands are going to college or job training because they earned his Alaska Performance Scholarship.
After years of delays, Governor Parnell got the multi-billion-dollar Point Thompson project rolling on the North Slope, providing jobs to more than 1,000 Alaskans and the fuel we'll need for a natural gas pipeline.
Governor Parnell did all this while cutting the state budget by more than $1 billion over each of the past 2 years.
Alaska is in the middle of a jobs boom
An education boom.
and an oil boom.
That's why Parnell 2014, Box 100719 Anchorage paid for this announcement.
Why is A&A the shop, Alaska's independent Subaru specialist? How is it they've been voted the best shop in Anchorage not once but 6 times? Well, it's pretty simple. They offer the best warranty in the business. If they work on your Subaru, you're going to get a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on both parts and labor. That's unheard of. A&A the shop deals exclusively with Subarus, and they also offer $35 oil changes. All their technicians are ASE certified. Call A&A the shop for an appointment. 562-3919 in Anchorage and 696-2096 in Eagle River. Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080 KOAN.
Nonpartisan look at the big picture of Alaska's public finances and help Alaskans understand Alaska's fiscal future and how we can live with less. This Saturday, October 4th at the Wilder-Marson Theater.
Fagan and Biegel. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, welcome back. Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, Bonnie Cameron. David Boyle cleared his throat. He's with the Alaska Policy Forum.
You didn't push the cough button.
Hey, David, I asked Bonnie and Glenn a question earlier, and I'm going to ask it to you. Do you think the average person out there understands that guys like Vince Beltrami and the public employee unions, what they're really about? Do you think the average person, when they hear unions, that they realize that most public employee unions are really not for the, lower middle class? Most public employee union members make 6 figures and get benefits that we can only dream of in the private sector. Do you think the average person gets that?
No, I don't. I think the average union member actually kind of, I won't say they seem to be led around because it takes the weight off their shoulders of making decisions. The union hierarchy, quote, leadership, they're the ones that really benefit, but the private, the labor unions, I don't have a problem with labor unions doing collective bargaining, but public employee unions, particularly in this state, in this city, they've just gone off the deep end, and we see that with AO 37 and the pushback against that.
Gone off the deep end. How?
Well, they're on both sides of the bargaining table. We don't, and it's all. Excuse me again.
No
it's all about. It's very unfortunate that our elected officials, for the most part, it's a cycle. I'm going to get the unions to support me in this election, whether it's school board, city, or state, or national. And then I will give them favors and pay them back. And then I get reelected again, and the money just keeps flowing, and it's a vicious circle. Mm-hmm. If you look at the APOC reports, look at who wins on the school board. Invariably, all 7 of those candidates are backed by the NEA Alaska.
They control the board, and that's everywhere, isn't it? That's not just Alaska.
No, that is everywhere across the country, except in Colorado, which they have some very interesting stuff going on down there. The Douglas County School Board, which is the Douglas County School District, is the 3rd largest in the state of Colorado. They have 80,000 students, nearly double what we have here. And they have a voucher program they started themselves.
Wow.
Did
all of the public schools fail immediately after, and did they steal all the great students out of the schools so that they couldn't help the lower performing schools? What happened?
Well, what happened, the reason they started this voucher system in Douglas County, which is around Parker and Castle Rock, et cetera, south of Denver, is because they ran out of money. And that sounds familiar, doesn't it? We're 23
David, I have always wondered whether or not what would push us to choice in education is not anything having to do with safety or performance or trying to keep up with other countries or making sure that we could have good jobs afterwards or ready for college, all of which are good reasons. I always wondered whether or not we would be forced to it because we just can't afford to keep doing education the same way that we always have.
You're right. They had a very enlightened school board, and what they did is they said, we're out of money. We can't afford to operate our current system, much less build new facilities. Therefore, the first year, which was, I believe, 2 years ago, they said, we're going to allow 500 students to get vouchers from the school district.
And the voucher saves money how?
Well, each student would get 75% of the cost of educating that student.
So you save 25% per student.
You bet. The remaining 25% stayed with the school district. So guess what? It's a win-win. We're not in deficit spending anymore, and the student gets a choice and parent of where their child wants to go to school. They doubled the number the next year to 1,000 students.
And David, we're talking to David Boyle with the Alaska Policy Forum. In Alaska, we can't duplicate that model because our Constitution has the Blaine Amendment in it that prohibits.
Well, yeah.
Explain that to us.
Well, let me go back just a little bit and finish the story on Douglas County. Guess what? They had an election last spring. Every one of those school board members got reelected.
Wow.
And the same thing now is happening in Jefferson County, which is the second largest school district in the state. So it's very positive. And when their collective bargaining agreements and the contracts ended 2 years ago, the next day, the school board terminated their contracts with the union.
Wow.
And within 2 weeks, they offered every teacher to come back into their school district with a pay raise. And within that 2 week period, 98% of those teachers opted in.
Wow.
So
because the associated costs of the contract are so high that you can actually pay teachers more if they're not part of the very expensive teachers union process.
That's correct. Now,
and they didn't have to pay union dues either.
Wow.
So how do we make that happen here?
Well, it's going to be tough here. Now, it's
Why?
It's not so much the Alaska Constitution that restricts us here in this state.
Okay.
The Alaska Constitution only restricts, quote, direct funding of non-public schools.
Okay.
And the Alaska Supreme Court in 1979 decided otherwise. They said it doesn't just include direct funding, it also includes indirect funding. In other words, the state couldn't give the money.
But the Constitution says for the direct benefit of any private, parochial, religious institution. I mean, it does use the word direct. They just ignored what the Constitution said? I shouldn't be surprised.
They just interpreted it to be all-encompassing, and they said, hey, I can't remember the school. I'm on land scum, but it was, well, boy, getting old. Anyway, in 79, the Supreme Court said, this is a metaphysical thing. That's the word they used.
What?
Yeah, it's metaphysical.
Metaphysical property inside the Constitution that we didn't know about.
Yeah, and they said, okay.
Okay.
What was happening, it was the religious school down around Sitka. They said, college, they said, okay, yes, you are giving the money to the parent. Actually, the state was giving the money to the school for each kid that was going there.
Yeah, Kenai Christian School down there, I think. Christian College.
Yeah, it was the college. And they said, nope, you can't do that. You're actually, even though it appears to be indirect, it's not.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, that's college.
So what do we have to, how do we duplicate what happened in Colorado here? What has to happen?
You're going to have a constitutional amendment because of the Supreme Court here. And constitutional amendment to allow money to go to a parent so the parent can pick the best education.
So that's what, 2/3 of the legislature has to approve?
2/3 of each house, and then 50% of the plus one of the voters. That's a very high hurdle.
Especially for the legislature.
Well, the interesting thing, Dan, is that this is already occurring in this state. There are multiple programs, the educational programs, that are being directly funded by the state of Alaska. The Governor's Performance Scholarship Program for college. You can take that money and you can go to a religious school in this state.
Wow.
You're a PFD.
David Boyle, Alaska Policy Forum. We got to go, but thanks so much for the call.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Talk to you later. Bye. 7:14. Dan Kendall's next. He's a Walker supporter. Has problems with the governor. We'll talk to him next. Stay with us. He's a Walker supporter. has problems with the governor. We'll talk to him next. Stay with us.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel. Give him a call, 569-1080, KOAN.
Hi, I'm Cliff Grow, Chair of Alaska Common Ground. I'm inviting you to a free public forum on Alaska's fiscal future this Saturday, October 4th, at the Wildemarson Theater at the Lusac Library. It's an all-day forum from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. You can pick the parts you want to go to. Lunch will be available for a small fee, or you can bring your own. At this forum, we'll be taking a nonpartisan look at the big picture of Alaska's public finances and help Alaskans understand Alaska's fiscal future and how we can live with less. This Saturday, October 4th, at the Wildemarson Theater. See you there.
In Washington, Mark Begich has voted with Barack Obama 97% of the time, adding trillions to the national debt, casting the deciding vote for Obamacare, and protecting Obama's executive amnesty for illegal immigrants. Alaska needs a senator who will fight back against Obama's agenda. As our Attorney General, Dan Sullivan sued to stop Obamacare and defended our Second Amendment rights. As Alaska's DNR Commissioner, Sullivan stood down Obama's EPA, unleashed new energy production, and created Alaskan jobs. Now Sullivan is running for the U.S. Senate to stop the Washington big spenders from bankrupting America. Sullivan will cut wasteful spending and support a balanced budget amendment. And Dan Sullivan is pro-life. He'll protect life while fighting to repeal Obamacare. Dan Sullivan, strong leadership for Alaska.
I'm Dan Sullivan. I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sullivan for U.S. Senate.
Trail Boss Solutions is your local award-winning, nationally recognized construction and remodel firm. From handyman services to kitchen design and remodel to custom home construction, Trail Boss Solutions has the experienced professionals to take your project from initial design through completion, on time and on budget. Trail Boss Solutions is the only call for all your construction, design, and remodel needs. Please visit us on the web at trailboss-solutions.com or contact Trail Boss Solutions Direct at 646-1403.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN.
Place Malarkey Mark with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com.
Fagan, Biegel. Weekdays.
7:17 in the morning. Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, Bonnie Cameron. Earhart Roofing is the premier roofing company in all of Alaska. Frank and Becky and their son James, they're hard workers. More than that, they're good at what they do. They can install a roof for you at Earhart Roofing on your home within 2 days. And they'll guarantee that roof for 50 years. 50 years. Earhart Roofing, you need a new roof. Whether it's industrial, commercial, or residential, give the folks at Earhart Roofing a call. Their number is 345-5555. 345-5555. It's Earhart Roofing. Go see Frank and Becky and their son James. They're great people. Happy to welcome here in the studio with us former Assembly member Dan Kendall. Also, you worked for the city in some capacity. What were you
I worked for the mayor's office.
What was your position?
I was chief of staff.
Chief of staff. That's right. That's a big job.
It is.
In Sullivan's office.
A lot of fun.
But you're no longer in that capacity.
No, I left there in May.
That's right. Well, thank you for coming in and getting up early. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I haven't had that long commute in 6 months. It was kind of unusual. Traffic was good this morning.
You're at your Eagle River, right?
Yeah. You know, it's a long drive to Eagle River.
Yeah.
But it's twice as far if you go back to Eagle River.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted to the reason I asked you to come on this morning, I wanted to talk to you about your column that ran in the Alaska Dispatch News on September 29th. Choose respect, choose a new governor. Your old boss, Dan Sullivan, the mayor, is on the ticket, and yeah, you've come out and you're endorsing Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Parnell's opponent. Why?
Well, let's take politics aside for a second, because the issue I wrote about deals with the National Guard and the operation there and the people involved there. It doesn't necessarily involve the political aspect of things, but it does involve the election in the sense that it's your time to grade the governor. In our system, you know, we elect new elected officials every 2-3 years, 4 years like that, It's the time to grade the governor and see how he did in all aspects of his operation. Some aspects he's done really well. In this aspect, I think he's let the folks down over there.
The National Guard.
In the National Guard.
And so that's reason enough for you to look at Bill Walker instead.
Yes.
And is there anything about Walker that you're attracted to, or is it that you just think this National Guard scandal was so mishandled that it disqualifies Mr. Parnell from being governor?
Well, you go to very strict terms when you say that. But in the big picture, yes. When you look at people running for office, you need to look at their history, what they've done, what they're doing, the people associated with them, how they react to problems. Do they take a long time to solve it? Do they react immediately? You have to be careful when you're a governor, president of a company, or whatever it is. You need thorough investigation.
But other than the National Guard, is there anything that makes you prefer Walker over Parnell?
Well, let's see. I've known Bill Walker since I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And
so you consider him a friend?
Yes, I've known him a long time. We share our earthquake stories together.
Yeah. And what do you like about him as a candidate? What policy do you?
He's willing to more openly discuss, particularly the gas line, but most of the issues. Parnell, I don't know his gas line. I don't know, and I pay attention. I don't know his gas line proposal. I don't know what kind of deals he's making. It really troubles me when I read a newspaper article that says, well, the legislature has to sign this secret agreement before they can get the information on the gas line. I think the state government is getting too closely involved with the gas line. The role of the government should be to promote, regulate, make sure that the private sector is doing a good job, but the state should not be directly involved with operations like this.
Talking to Dan Kendall, who has a column out, and I know they probably assigned this a headline to you. You probably didn't write this. Choose respect. Excuse me, choose a new governor. If it were not for the National Guard scandal, would you still prefer Walker over Parnell?
Yes.
So it's really not about the National Guard. You were a Walker supporter from the beginning.
No.
Did you vote for him in the primary?
In the primary? He wasn't in the primary.
Oh,
yeah.
That's right. Did you vote for Malat?
Last time.
Did you vote for Malat?
No, I'm a Republican.
Okay.
But if you were a Walker guy all the way, are you just kind of using the National Guard thing as an excuse?
No. Let's stick with the National Guard here for a minute, because if I use it as an excuse to beat up the governor, whatever it is, because I'm a Walker guy, that takes away from the men and women of the National Guard and the important issues there. And we really should talk about that in the sense that the governor was too busy or didn't have time or delegated that to other folks to take care of. That is a very
but
serious
you're going to vote for Walker regardless.
Issue. Does it matter?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important to know where you're coming from, that you had made up your mind prior to the National Guard thing.
No, well, when does a person choose who they are going to vote for? A lot of people, it's on election day.
Yeah.
So when did I say I'm going to do this?
But
or do that?
Walker's your friend.
He is.
And you were going to support him all along.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I have the blessing of knowing just about all of these people running for office, and so you choose, and that's one of our not God-given, constitutional given rights.
How did you vote on Prop 1?
Prop 1, I voted no.
You voted no. Now, why would you vote for Bill Walker when he clearly favors Prop 1 and wants to continue the war on the oil industry?
Well, you go right to the extremes, don't you, Dan? I mean, in the sense, government is a moving object that changes.
But
and
Walker was a yes on one guy. You know that.
I know that. Yeah.
So why would you?
I disagreed with him on that.
Okay, so what do you agree with him on?
I agree with him on we need to get the gas line built.
And you think he would be better? Now, the oil industry has spent $430 million advancing the line since Parnell made his deal with the producers. They're buying land down in the Kiski.
Well, this is the third or fourth iteration of the oil companies building, starting on the gas line. They rented all that office space on the new building there on.
You're talking about the Denali company?
Yeah. And it was just a shell.
But they didn't spend $430 million. That's a lot of money. You don't do that for PR purposes.
Well, I know, but are they really doing it this time?
Well, why do you think they spent the $430 million to advance the project? Just to kind of fool us?
Okay, but is that the best proposal?
Okay. So what
is that the best proposal?
Well, how is Walker's proposal better than Parnell's?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know the governor's proposal, and it's such a big project, and the oil companies want to keep everything close. How do we know all of the information?
How is Walker's proposal better than Parnell's?
He wants it done 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Okay, but
Parnell is going very slow. You know, in his time, we've had the Denali thing, and now we have this.
So how is Walker's proposal different than Parnell's?
You know, when you're running for governor, and at this time, you pick people because of how they communicate, what they stand for. I don't know the details of either proposal, but I do know that...
you make it sound like Bill Walker's going to get his gas line, Parnell won't, but yet you don't know the details of either of their proposals, and you don't know how Walker's going to get his gas line.
Well, I do know if we let the large oil companies build the gas pipeline, it will be very expensive gas pipeline. There have been other estimates on building the gas pipelines that were considerably cheaper than the mega project.
So who's going to pay for it?
Who's going to pay for it? Right now, the gas market is in Japan.
So the customers will pay for the gas line.
They
always take all the risk.
They always do.
Aren't they going to want much lower prices?
Well, that's part of the negotiations for building the pipeline.
But if they want rock bottom prices because they're taking all the risk, doesn't that mean a considerable shrinkage of revenue?
Well, what's the role of is the gas line revenue going to replace oil revenue that we're losing?
It'll be about $4 billion. It'll be about $4 billion.
The benefit of the gas line, building the gas line, is that the Alaskans will have a reliable source of gas. If you have a reliable source of energy long term, 50 to 100 years, which is what the gas line will bring.
So you don't think we should export the gas?
We'll have. This is a benefit of having the gas line, because there's so much gas, there's such a need, but the benefit of building the gas line is Alaskans will have a reliable source of energy, which will promote other industries. It'll promote mining. It'll promote just about every aspect of industry.
A couple of things that I guess I'm confused on about Walker. Obviously, his main argument is that he wants to get us a gas line. You said 20 or 30 years ago, we couldn't have had a gas line 20 or 30 years ago, right? Do you agree with that?
Why not?
Because we needed the gas to re-inject into the ground.
That's part of it.
Okay. Here's one of the things I didn't understand about it, and I want to get back to the National Guard thing, because I think that is really important, and I really want to try and understand it, and maybe you understand it better than I do. You say you don't want government too closely involved in a gas project, but yet Walker's whole approach is we are going to have a larger ownership than what Sean Parnell wants. Sean Parnell wants 25%, he wants 51%. True or false?
He has said that, yes. It's I guess I'm more conservative than both of those guys, because I think government's role is a role of regulation, order. We have royalty gas, so we get the revenue from the royalty gas. That's the role. Once we start owning,
so neither of them are really on the right path here. They're not doing what you wanted to do. But I mean, do you think that Walker, since he wants 51% of the line, he's got a better chance to get it than Sean Parnell's 25%?
Well, we have to. The legislature's involved here too. So one wants 25, one wants 50. I don't think the legislature is going to let them do either.
Talking to Dan Kendall, 569-1080. He has to call him out. Scolding the governor for the National Guard stand and how he handled it. 729. Stay with us. Stay with us.
nothing.
From the Fox Business Network, stocks are searching for direction following yesterday's plunge as investors look over more economic news ahead of tomorrow's jobs report for September. U.S. factory orders dropped more than 10% in August. They were weighed down by a plunge in volatile aircraft orders, but initial claims for jobless benefits came in better than expected, and corporate layoffs fell in September. And Warren Buffett has announced Berkshire Hathaway is acquiring Van Tile Group, the country's largest privately owned auto dealership group. The company will now be known as Berkshire Hathaway Automotive. Terms were not disclosed. And shares of Wayfair are rallying in its first day of trading. The online retailer of home furnishings sold 11 million shares in the IPO, which was priced at $29 each, above the expected range. The IPO was seen as the first test for an e-commerce offering after Alibaba Group went public last month in the largest IPO ever. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Jolene Kent.
Solar is the way to go. Many state solar incentives are almost gone. The big federal solar incentives are slated to disappear in 2016. If you wait, it could cost you as much as 30% more to make the switch. Escape the coming big energy price increases with 1-800-MY-SOLAR. We finance, and we're a local company. Over 12,000 people call us every month. Call 1-800-MY-SOLAR for a free in-home assessment.
My home, my savings, 1-800-MY-SOLAR.
With KOAN News, I'm Ann Kenda. The Alaska Supreme Court has issued a split decision that will allow a non-native family in Anchorage to adopt a baby girl who was born to Alaska Native parents. A village in western Alaska tried to stop the adoption on the grounds that the baby, born in 2008, should go to her extended biological family to preserve her Alaska Native heritage. Her grandmother was found to have an unsafe home, and the court decided in favor of the foster family that wanted to adopt her. The state has embarked on farm-to-school activities this month as part of a rapid expansion of the national program that promotes child nutrition improvements in schools. The Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race and the Sportsman Channel have reached a deal to show parts of the 2015 race. It will not be shown live, but will have many stories of the race history and intense competition. That's your Hot Talk News Update.
Mostly sunny skies for today, high 48. Tonight, cold with patchy clouds, low 29. Cloudy for tomorrow, high 43. Friday night, low 33. Saturday, mostly cloudy skies. You'll see a bit of snow with little to no accumulation. High Saturday, 43. Sunday, partly sunny, high 40. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather. KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
The highway, a strip of asphalt to carry you between points A and B. But in an all-new 2015 Mercedes-Benz GLA, there is no point B. Because when you're driving a GLA from Mercedes-Benz, you're not concerned with the destination, only the adventure. With off-road transmission mode and a sleek design, this SUV performs with confident style on any terrain. And no matter where your adventure takes you, the all-new GLA's sporty, expressive styling fits in, yet stands out, complementing the many sides of you. See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer today and see the world differently in a GLA 250 4MATIC, starting at $33,300.
MSRP for a 2015 GLA 250 4MATIC excludes all options, taxes, title, registration, transportation charge, and dealer prep. Options, model availability, and actual dealer price may vary. See dealer for details.
Mercedes-Benz of Anchorage. The best or nothing.
Alaska's Energy, America's Values, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com.
Mark Begich is unbelievable.
Washington thinks it knows what's best for Alaska, and that's what I'm fighting against every day.
Fighting? Begich voted for all Obama's appointments, like Sally Jewell as Secretary of the Interior. Jewell immediately said no to exploration in Anwar and no to a King Cove road. Begich didn't fight Washington. He rolled over, like he rolled over for Obamacare. Now Begich is trying to duck and hide. On Obamacare, on oil taxes, on cap and trade, on the IRS scandal, even on Anwar. How can you deliver Anwar, Mark, when Harry Reid says a Democrat-controlled Senate will never allow an Anwar vote? Alaskans can't trust a thing Begich says. It's time to replace Malarkey Mark with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan.
Glen Biegel, you have beautiful teeth.
Why, thank you, Dan Fagan. That's because my family and I have gone to Dr. Dan Kiley for years.
I get scared at the dentist.
Dr. Kiley knows people like you are afraid, so he creates a relaxed atmosphere at his office. People actually like going to the dentist for Dr. Kiley.
I know it's important to have good dental health.
And you look better with good teeth. And Dr. Kiley offers cosmetic dentistry along with general care.
Visit Dr. Dan Kiley at lakeotisdental.com. Call him at 562-9209.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call, 569-1080. KOAN.
At this forum, we will be taking a nonpartisan look at the big picture of Alaska's public finances and help Alaskans understand Alaska's fiscal future and how we can live with less. This Saturday, October 4th at the Wilder-Marson Theater. See you there.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning on the Talk of the Valley.
Pretty, right? You think somebody goes to get you some water, they'd fill it to the top.
And you'd think if somebody went and got you some water, you wouldn't complain about
it. That's right.
Well, I mean, there's an inch there of emptiness.
It's filled with air.
Yeah, but you could fill the cup up, right? I mean, if you're going to do something, don't do it half-assed, right?
It's all water. It's just some of it's frozen water.
And you put up with this stuff all the time?
All the time.
Dan Kendall's here in the studio with us.
We need to stand up for women's rights.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little confused, Dan. I'm not confused. I mean, you're a conservative Republican.
Yes.
And yet you're supporting Bill Walker, who is as pro-union as anybody. Ethan Berkowitz, Les Guerra, and Dan and Bill Walker disagree on nothing when it comes to unions. Nothing. He is an anti-oil, yes on Prop 1 populist. You post Prop 1. It seems to me you're just voting for the guy because he's your buddy.
Isn't friendship a good thing?
No.
Yes.
Friendship is a good thing.
I think friendship's more important than just about anything else in the world.
If Bill Walker was... I mean, Glenn is someone I respect dearly, and actually Ethan Berkowitz is a guy who I would consider a friend, who I respect, but I'd never vote for him.
You just said he'd never vote for me?
No, Berkowitz. I'd vote for you because you reflect my values and beliefs politically.
I was a little confused there.
But you're going to put aside your beliefs and your values and support a guy who's going to be the governor of Alaska, even though his views are completely different than yours?
Well, you know, the wonderful thing about America is we all live here, and we all get to vote and negotiate and banter and go back and forth. You know, we don't particularly like what the unions are presenting and discussing at the moment. You know, they're really trying to run the country. But we don't get our army and go shoot them. We negotiate with them. We talk in the political forum. We get people to vote our way. It's a public discussion on how we make things happen.
I'm not calling for the death of Bill Walker. I just don't understand how you can support a guy who has completely different views as you do.
Well, let's talk about Proposition 1. I was
Anchorage Ordinance 37.
No, let's go back to the primary for a second.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The oil tax change.
Yeah, to go back to ACES.
I was never a fan of ACES, ever. I hated it from the very day it came out.
Walker loves it.
You know, and you know, why would we want to? The biggest complaint the oil companies have is that we keep changing the rules.
Right.
And that's what they said when ACES came out. You're changing the rules. Can't we have more stability? If we have more stability, then we can plan long term, because our projects really are a long term plan. A big gas line, even a bullet line, is a long term plan. We need 20, 40 years to plan. We need stability for financing, because if you jack up the prices in the middle of our project, you know, we're bankrupt. The project is bankrupt, basically. And so they were asking for stability. ACES came along and created anarchy. And we saw the results of that in the declining production of crude oil, you know, the slowdown on the North Slope of activity. The legislature, the oil companies, and everyone started negotiating on a new deal as soon as they could. You know, and as soon as they could was after Sarah Palin was gone and Parnell came in. But it took 2 or 3 years.
The Democrat-led coalition wasn't going to hear anything about any oil tax changes. Yeah.
So what's your point?
Well, my point is, what passed didn't make everybody happy. It's still not the best deal for the oil companies. And it's not the best deal for.
So what's your point?
My point is that you can't always just. You don't get the perfect candidate. You don't get the perfect solution to all the problems.
Dan,
and so you have to work with the people that are there.
We would have never fixed ACES with Governor Bill Walker.
How do you know that?
Because he loves ACES.
How do you know that?
Because he told me personally, looking at me eye to eye, face to face. The guy loathes the oil industry. He thinks we should tax them into oblivion. If it wasn't for Sean Parnell, ACES would still be on the books. And you're supporting a guy who wants to go to war with the oil industry because he's your friend.
Yeah, that's enough for me.
Can't you be his buddy without voting for him for governor because he disagrees with you on everything?
That's America.
Well, and you said we all have a vote that, and I agree with you, definitely, but we don't all get to write an article. And then you stated that the National Guard issue was the point that made you go for Walker, but yet you were wanting to vote for Walker from the beginning.
He's your buddy.
People decide who they vote for in the voting booth.
But you're using the National Guard thing as the reason, right?
It's my latest thought on the election process. And I went very public with it because there's very serious issues over there that needed to be addressed that the governor put off, or his people put off, and didn't really take care of. That was my real focus of that article. Now, who I'm voting for governor, it came up. Dan wanted to know, so we talked about it today. And so, you're trying to put everything point. This is why you're doing it, and people don't think or reason that way.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a quote from your article, by the way. Now, a month from the election, the governor decides to dismiss the top leadership in a very late attempt to show he cares. This year, I am choosing respect. I will be voting for a new governor. So, that really does give the indication that the reason you're voting for a new governor is because Sean Parnell doesn't care about the rapes that occurred in the National Guard.
When you look at a public official, or in our case, public officials, how are they doing on their jobs? How are they taking care of the little things? We can have a discussion forever on the gas line, but how is he taking care of the people that work for him? How is he dealing with everyday issues? Because that's really what you look for in a leader. What kind of people will they bring to office with them? How are those people handling their jobs? And in this case, that job was not handled very well.
What do you know that the governor knew about this? Because we had one of the whistleblowers here, and he lost a lot of credibility as he spoke more and more, and it looks like he probably lost credibility with people who he spoke to. Why do you think it took so long for Parnell to act, or for his people to essentially get him off the dime? And does he care? You make the point here that you don't think he cares.
Well, actions speak louder than words, and so there were other politicians that asked for investigation because they heard the same stories too. The Inspector General two Inspector General reports came back and said that, well, there's no issue. And then finally we get this large report, and the Office of Complex Investigations. Now that has to be a federal government name if I ever heard one. I asked the people, and they said, well, repeat that again. What did you say? It has to be the federal government that comes up with a name like that. And so they more thoroughly examined the situation, gave credibility to these people that were trying to tell the story, and said there are real issues there.
We still don't know what all the issues are. I don't think we've revealed everyone. We haven't gotten to the bottom of it. Is your concern that he's not going to do more over at the National Guard and that Walker will do more? Or that he just was too slow to act? He should have listened to the warning signs.
He was too slow to act. He should have listened. He should have gone over there and talked to the people. He should have personally investigated it more.
National Guard never happened. Scandal never happened. You're going to vote for Walker anyway. Yes?
He's my friend. I've known him longer than the other guys.
So that would be a yes?
Yeah. Friendship takes
Dan Kendall, appreciate you coming by. 744. Fagan, Biegel, and Money.
Friendship takes
Dan Kendall, appreciate you coming by. 744. Fagan, Biegel, and Money.
Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
The traffic jam. A stifling halt to your thrilling drive. But in a redesigned 2015 Mercedes-Benz C-Class, that interruption is at least tolerable. With the most luxurious interior in its class and an innovative touchpad, the all-new 2015 C-Class is as exciting to experience standing still as it is in motion. And with its improved acceleration power, your state of comfort continues, knowing you'll make it to your destination on time. To your authorized dealer and see the world differently in a C-Class from Mercedes-Benz. Get the 2015 C300 4MATIC starting at just $40,400. Test drive one today.
MSRP for a 2015 C300 4MATIC excludes all options, taxes, title, registration, transportation charge, and dealer prep. Options, model availability, and actual dealer price may vary. See dealer for details.
Mercedes-Benz of Anchorage. The best or nothing.
It's said that character is what you do when no one is watching. If that's the case, then Senator Kathy Giessel has the sort of character that is needed in Juneau. Away from the photo ops or flashy media events, Kathy Giessel hits the books just like she did in nursing school. For the past 4 years, Senator Giessel has worked hard for you, studying the impact of greater access to immunizations for Alaska's kids, crafting legislation that frees up business owners to expand and hire more Alaskans, and working to improve the infrastructure like roads and schools, not just for this generation, but for generations of Alaskans to come. This election is more than just about promises or bullet points. It's about sending the right person to Juneau with the character to act on behalf of us when we can't watch. We need someone with the character to do the hard work when no one is watching, to make decisions we can trust. We need to re-elect Senator Kathy Giessel.
Paid for by re-elect Senator Kathy Giessel for Senate. 12701 Ridgewood Road, Anchorage, Alaska, 99516.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080 KOAN.
Best ingredients, best pizza, Sicily's.
Just call Sicily's Pizza. 333-8000.
Fagan and Biegel. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m. on the
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
You're my friend.
I understand friendship. I do. Like, I'd never vote for Bonnie. She's my friend. No.
I wouldn't vote for Bonnie.
I don't get
Bonnie
that.
against Bonnie.
I don't get that. Dan Kendall was just in here. Former chief of staff for Dan Sullivan. And he was like making disparaging marks about Sullivan, too. Dan Sullivan, the mayor. I mean,
well, he was on both sides of that, too. He kind of said, you know, he did everything. I agree with everything he said.
But then he said, Dan's got a very positive public persona. And then, you know, as though that's just a persona.
Uh-huh.
I honestly don't get that the idea of voting for someone who disagrees with you on just about everything because he's your friend and he's supporting Bill Walker. He couldn't answer how Bill Walker's going to get us a pipeline better than Parnell.
He didn't even know what Parnell's gas line process was or where he was in it.
That was, I'll be honest with you, I don't think anyone's ever looked worse in an interview. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but what was that?
Yeah, that was a little difficult.
Well, and using the platform of a news article to disparage somebody, but really that wasn't the issue why he's voting for him. He's voting for Walker because he's his friend, not because of what Parnell did.
Kendall, for those who just joining us, Dan Kendall, former assembly member, wrote a column in the Anchorage, Alaska Dispatch News saying that he's going to vote for
Bill Walker.
Bill Walker because Dan Sullivan mishandled the National Guard scandal. But then he admitted that he was going to vote for Bill Walker anyway because that's his friend. And
even though, as you walked him through issue after issue after issue,
he didn't agree with Walker on anything.
Yeah.
And he actually said, well, he's my friend.
Yeah.
Friendship means more.
Well, if Glenn was pro-choice and a communist, I'm still going to be his friend.
He figured me out.
But I'm not going to vote for him.
Right.
Right?
Right. And then not try to come up with a scandal
Well,
from the other guy.
I didn't ask him, which I did want to know, is if he's going to work in Walker's administration.
Yeah.
As chief of staff, you are a really powerful person. You are directing, the play-by-play. You are calling in the plays for what's going to happen.
Well, Amanda Coyne wrote about Dan Kendall getting the big job over at MLP and how that he was grossly unqualified for it. And she writes about how that Dan Sullivan, the mayor, put him in that position, and look at what he's doing now. Loyalty. And he doesn't like Dan Sullivan.
Yeah, there was something
going on with the guy.
Strange behind the scenes. Anyway, I don't know.
That was unbelievable. 569-1080. Bill, you're on.
Good morning, people.
Morning.
Well, that sort of backs up what I've told you and Mr. Biegel before Bonnie was around, that not all R's are R's. They can be socialist too, but they want that R in front of their name to cop the vote.
Oh, but he tried to say he was more conservative. The Stan Kendall was more conservative than both Bill Walker and Sean Parnell.
Yeah, and Ho Chi Minh was a good guy. That's all I'm going to say.
I appreciate it, Bill.
You have a nice day.
Here's
Bye-bye.
the thing is, Dan Kendall has always been one of the most conservative people I've ever met, which is why it was so striking. And I asked him a revealing question. Have you ever been in the position where you're voting for someone because they're your friend versus because you agree with their ideology, their approach to government, people's relationship to the government? He said, no, never done it before.
Yeah.
It was very uncomfortable for me.
I had a very, very good friend of mine. I mean, she's like family to me. I love this gal, and she ran for school board. And I told her I can't vote for her because she's a hard left, but she's such a wonderful person. And her family, her husband, her kids. I'm godfather to one of her kids. I mean, we were like family, and they've moved away since. But I told her I can't, and she understood.
Sure.
You're not gonna, you got. It's not a betrayal.
Yeah, your friendship has to be able to survive things like that. If you politically disagree with somebody, but you're friends with them, it's not that you're not telling them to give up their values.
I have done things socially with Ethan Berkowitz and his wife that I would consider him a friend, and he knows that I can't vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't.
It's understandable.
Okay, I'll go even further than that. He wouldn't want you to vote for him. If it came out that you were going to vote for him, all of his left-wing friends would go, he's going to what? Oh, my gosh, we got to rethink this. Who are you, Ethan Berkowitz?
Well, so that's why it would make you wonder if he's been promised something.
Yeah, I didn't get to that, and it's unfair to speculate because he's not here to answer. But and I realized I was going to ask that question, but we didn't get to it.
Well, here on Facebook, Derek Heisch, I think he's the police union guy. He writes, "Is this the mayor's former chief of staff turning against the ticket about the Kendall's endorsement of Walker?" Andy Holloman, the teachers union president. This is big news. I mean, they're all the union guys are jumping in now. This is such a big deal that Dan Kendall is now betraying Dan Sullivan, the former mayor or the current mayor.
Yeah,
and he's doing it just because he's buddies with Walker.
Right. Yeah. Well, he did it in a very clever way, which is why it's
by blaming the National Guard.
By blaming the National Guard, which is something that deeply troubles me.
I'm going to have to use a different word than clever. Disingenuous.
Okay, in disingenuous way, because he really did give the indication at the end of it, I'm voting for Walker because this story.
And yet here on the program, he admitted
he's just going to vote for him because he's his friend.
Even though he disagrees with him.
Even if the National Guard thing wouldn't have happened, he'd still vote for him.
Well, he even disagreed with Bill Walker's approach to the gas line, which I just...
Yeah, he wanted less than 50% and even less than what Parnell was doing, 25.
Yeah, I
mean, I'm telling you, I've never seen anybody...
It was very confusing.
That was very confusing. I had to leave.
He was uncomfortable, though.
Well, you can't defend that position. I disagree with Bill Walker on everything, but he's my friend, and I'm going to vote for him and let him run the state in which my family lives. And he will dramatically change the direction of the state for the negative because I disagree with him on everything, but he's my buddy.
It's so strange, too, because Dan Kendall has been in the midst of all of these battles that Dan Sullivan, the mayor, has really been part of. And so he takes the brunt of this. He's made the arguments. He's played behind the scenes.
What I should ask him is if Stalin was your buddy, if Fidel Castro was your buddy, you know?
No, I think you asked the questions properly. You brought up exactly what Walker's positions are. And then you asked him, tell me about this, because you bring Stalin and all these other guys into it, then it makes your argument weaker. You're talking about real positions from a real person who is really running for governor, who Dan Kendall totally disagrees with and admitted.
Hypotheticals, don't you?
Well,
I don't think they're strong. I think it weakens your argument.
he also said that Parnell has acted so slowly on the gas line, but really he's done more than pretty much any governor.
Oh, he's brought us
in
so
his
much
time.
closer.
Yeah.
Well, I know
We're on
people
the
wanted
brink.
Point Thompson settled, within a couple of months. But look, it took years of haggling and negotiation in order to get Point Thompson, the building on Point Thompson done.
And
It's just the way things work.
People realize that legal battles do take a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's understandable.
Yeah, and we got a good settlement out of it.
And then you called them on it, Glenn. We should have had the pipeline 20 years ago. Do you know how much money we would have lost by not having that gas injected into the ground to get more oil out? Oil is so much more lucrative than gas.
He
doesn't know what he's talking about.
For people who don't know this, and most people don't, we have Sarah Palin was the head of this group, the AOGCC, the Alaska Oil and Gas Conservation
She wasn't
Commission.
the head. She was a member of the commission.
I thought she was the head of it.
Riedrich was the chair.
Okay, I thought Riedrich was
He was the chair.
Okay, I thought he was the lead engineer for them.
No, he was the chair of the commission.
All right, so Sarah
She
Palin
was
was
a
a member.
member.
But here's the deal.
They've since changed that.
They have one job and one job alone, which is we will not allow any hydrocarbons to remain in the ground.
Maximize the
Every hydrocarbon we can get out of the ground, and here's why we could never have done a gas line before. We needed that gas. We needed the gas to get more valuable oil out of the ground.
Yep.
Now, this is why Point Thompson is such a game changer, because Point Thompson's a gas field. It's surrounded by gas fields. Are there some liquids there? Yeah, there are some liquids there, but the vast majority of the wealth
liquids meaning oil.
Well, liquids meaning natural gas liquids are propanes,
But there's oil
ethylenes, things that remain in liquid form rather than a gaseous form, which is what we would use our natural gas supplies for. Anyway, but they ship down with oil. The natural gas liquids ship down with oil because they remain in liquid form at room temperature. Anyway, the point is we couldn't have done a gas line before, this is what he admitted to. This is what Dan Kendall admitted to. We couldn't have done a gas line 20 years ago. We couldn't have done a gas line 30 years ago because we didn't have the Point Thompson settlement done. We didn't have infrastructure all the way over to the eastern side of the field. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I'm still can't get over that. He's my buddy. I disagree with him on everything. I want him to lead my state. That's unbelievable.
I wish I had friends like that.
Fire state.
7:58. Fagan, Biegel, Bonnie.
You know, it's getting to the end of the season for fresh silvers, and if you haven't filled your freezer for the winter, this is definitely the weekend to do it. Right now, New Sagai in City Market, you can buy the whole silver salmon for just $4.99 a pound. Whole fish, we'll clean them and you can put them in the freezer, $4.99 a pound. New Sagai in City Market. Oh, it's so popular. We're featuring fresh Hawaiian-style poke again this week. The great marinated fish with spices and onions and stuff, and a great big favorite in Anchorage as well as in the islands. Fresh Hawaiian poke, just $9.99 a pound. Of course, you'll find it at New Sagai in City Market. Family loves pork chops? Well, New Sagai and City Market have the economical way to buy them. Get the big family pack of fresh pork chops, just $3.49 a pound. And if a family pack is too big for dinner tonight, take out what you need and freeze the rest. Low price, $3.49 a pound, fresh pork chops, New Sagai in City Market. The apples are as sweet as honey and as crisp as a November morning. So they are called Honey Crisp apples. Great flavor, great eating, $1.89 a pound. New Sagai, Midtown City Market, 13th and I.
You're listening to Hot Talk, KOAN, Anchorage, AM 1080, and retranslated on 95.1 FM on K236CG, Anchorage.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. The deadline from protesters is now for Hong Kong's leader to resign. So far, thousands remain on the streets. Fox News Radio's Simon Owen monitoring this live.
Lisa, the clock's striking midnight in Hong Kong. And the city's chief executive saying he's going nowhere. But Leung Chun-ying, speaking in the past few minutes, has said his officials will meet with protest leaders to discuss their concerns. The crowds demanding the Chinese government gives Hong Kong free elections. It's not clear if this move will be enough to appease the crowds who had threatened to occupy government buildings if they didn't get what they want, Lisa.
Simon, thanks. The family of the Dallas Ebola patient now under forced quarantine as health officials also monitor a growing number of other people who may have had contact with him after he became contagious. Fox News Radio's Evan Brown has this live.
And Lisa, the patient's family is now under a legal order to stay inside their home lest they face prosecution. They say it's a precautionary move, and none of them have shown signs of being sick. Among those forced to stay home are children whose classmates are aware those kids have been exposed.
People want to shake each other's hands. They want to talk to each other. They're scared to go into the restroom.
And now health officials say the patient may have come into contact with as many as 80 people. Those officials are due to update their reports this afternoon. Lisa?
And Evan, the CDC now planning to hold a briefing 1 hour from now. Another frustrating day for air travelers in and out of Chicago, with more than 700 flights already canceled at O'Hare and Midway, blamed on a combination of severe weather and lingering issues from last week's fire at an air traffic control site. One bright spot for the U.S. economy, jobless claims falling to the lowest level in more than 8 years. Not helping stocks, though. Right now the Dow is down 86 points. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
It takes a lot of courage to face your own death, but I'm glad I finally did. See, I was putting off getting life insurance to protect my family, even though I knew it was important. Then my neighbor's husband died. I watched her struggle emotionally and financially. It really made me face reality. If my husband died, how would I pay the mortgage, the car payments, or keep up the life the kids and I had? I realized I needed to get us life insurance right away. So I called AIG Direct. In less than 5 minutes, I had a quote. I was shocked at how affordable it is. Just $14 a month for $250,000 of term life coverage. I feel so much better knowing my family has protection.
Call AIG Direct right now for a free no-obligation quote. The call takes less than 5 minutes, and you can save up to 70%. Call now, 1-800-530-6922. That's 1-800-530-6922. 1-800-530-6922.
Well, howdy, I'm Nick Worthington, Ford Giant, Worthington Ford. And folks, we're having a huge sale.
Right now, you can get friends and neighbors pricing automatically on these beautiful new 2014s. That's the official pricing set by Ford.
And you can use your PFD today. Look, here's a Ford Excursion, just $12,900. And here's a Lincoln Navigator, just $12,900.
Or how about a Mazda 3 for $69.50? Or a Ford Focus for just $49.50. And remember, you can use your PFD today. And if you're looking for a new Ford, friends and neighbors pricing could save you a lot.
This is your chance to automatically qualify for Ford's friends and neighbors pricing, so don't miss it.
Plus, if you've got a trade-in, we need it. Push, pull, or drag it in, and we'll give you top dollar.
Everyone qualifies for this special offer, so hurry on in to Giant Worthington Ford on Gamble.
Stop them. So 3 Coke, 143-537 and 04 Excursion 209-528, 07 Navigator 143-9708, 05 Mazda 3 143-5388. Friends and neighbors pricing excludes Raptor M casing and fleet deal. On approved credit, subject to prior sale, see dealer to detail. Ends 10/2/2014.
It's said that character is what you do when no one is watching. If that's the case, then Senator Kathy Giesel has the sort of character that is needed in Juneau. Away from the photo ops or flashy media events, Kathy Giesel hits the books just like she did in nursing school. For the past 4 years, Senator Giesel has worked hard for you, studying the impact of greater access to immunizations for Alaska's kids, crafting legislation that frees up business owners to expand and hire more Alaskans, and working to improve the infrastructure like roads and schools. Not just for this generation, but for generations of Alaskans to come. This election is more than just about promises or bullet points. It's about sending the right person to Juneau with the character to act on behalf of us when we can't watch. We need someone with the character to do the hard work when no one is watching, to make decisions we can trust. We need to re-elect Senator Kathy Giesel.
Paid for by re-elect Senator Kathy Giesel for Senate. 12701 Ridgewood Road, Anchorage, Alaska, 99516.
When you've got the best ingredients, the pizza comes out right. That's just what we're cooking for every appetite. Experience the flavor, call us right away. 24/7, it's a pizza party day.
October is National Pizza Month. Just hearing the word pizza brings a smile to almost everyone's face. And Sicily's Pizza wants to make you smile 5 times as big with their National Pizza Month special. Get as many as 5 medium 2-topping pizzas for only $9.99 each. Whatever style you like. For fast delivery, call 333-8000 and order the Sicily's National Pizza Month special. 333-8000 or order online at sicilyspizza.com. Best ingredients, best pizza, Sicily's.
Just call Sicily's Pizza. 333-8000.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot.
6 p.m. on KVNT 92.5 FM and 1020 AM. The Valley's only rush hour news and political forum. Are you ready to rumble? Tune in to the Tom Anderson Show on KVNT.
Fagan, Biegel.
Specialty Truck and Auto, Keith Montenaki's a mechanic you can trust. He is trustworthy, and he's a good guy. And he's my friend.
So you should vote for him.
I wouldn't vote for him if he was a communist, but he is my friend. He's not a communist, and I would vote for him because he and I have the same beliefs most of the time. And he's a good mechanic. His team over there, Specialty Truck and Auto, they're the very best in the state. He has a great location if you live anywhere in South Anchorage or on the hillside. Right across the street from the Long Branch Saloon off of Abbott. Here's the number to call if you want to make an appointment to have your car worked on. Specialty Truck and Auto, 349-1637. 349-1637. Glenn's off taking breakfast. He's taking the hour off to go to have breakfast. And Bonnie's just literally spewing gibberish during the break.
I lost all credibility.
Did you not sleep last night? I mean,
I told you I have such a higher thinking that you just can't understand it. You just can't meet me there.
I'm so glad the mics weren't on. Because I'm very impressed with your contributions to the broadcast. You're very insightful. You have great insights, and you're brave and you're courageous in your opinions. But, yeah, what just happened here during the break is confusing, Glenn.
I went down a few notches, I think.
Just a go.
We'll catch up with your higher thinking at some point in the future when we become enlightened, Dan.
You know, I'm pissed off at Dan Kendall.
Why?
Well, I didn't like the way he was. I don't like it when people innuendo criticize.
He did that off air during a break.
But I don't care.
With everybody in the room.
Yeah, you didn't say.
I agree with that. I totally agree with you. If you have something bad to say about somebody and it's something that you think other people should know, first of all, that should be very limited. There are very few times when other people need to know information which is bad. But he didn't say any of the bad things. He just used innuendo, and he didn't give us any information.
And he was criticizing who I will tell you, my prejudice and my bias. I think the world of this guy is our mayor, Dan Sullivan. And, he basically what Dan Kendall said was, well, the mayor has a very popular persona. Because I asked him why he'd be supporting. I mean, Mayor Sullivan put Dan Kendall in a position at the MLNP that he was not qualified for. And that was a pretty big deal. And it was a huge paying job. He got the top 3 years of his Tier 1 deal. So it's going to be a lot of money for the guy. And he's making the insinuation that Dan Sullivan is, well, his persona is good, but, I can tell stories. Was that his quote?
Yeah.
And then he comes out and he says, well, I'm going to support, see how that won't melt? It's been there for like 20 minutes. That margarine will not melt. And then he starts telling stories. He says he's going to vote for Bill Walker because he's his friend. Doesn't agree with him on anything. That's just an indefensible position in my opinion. And then he writes this column, this disingenuous column, acting as though the reason he's not going to vote for Sean Parnell is because of the National Guard scandal, but yet he admitted that he was always going to vote for Walker because Walker's his friend.
This is the sense that I got, by the way, after listening to him, because it doesn't sound like he's plugged into politics at all. He hasn't been following. If he hasn't followed the gas line, then he's not been following politics. That
he didn't even know
absolutely crystal clear.
He didn't even know Walker or Parnell's plan for the gas line.
Here's what I got the sense of. He got assigned to write this article
by his little buddy Billy Walker.
That's my sense of it.
I was disgusted by his appearance.
Why?
Because it's not honest. It's not authentic. It's not genuine. You can't pick something and pretend like you're so outraged you're not going to vote for a guy.
Well, here was the importance of having radio, by the way. You got right into it. Said, here is who you're supposedly requesting that people vote for. Let me go through a few things with you. It looks like you disagree with him. Yes, I disagree with him. Yes, I disagree with him. Yes, I disagree with him. No, he's wrong on that.
We're talking about Walker.
Yeah, that Dan Kendall agreed that he didn't support Walker's position on any of the things that you brought up. They were critical, important issues for the people of Alaska. He said, I'm voting for him anyway because he's my friend. That's very important for people to know. You did a great job in bringing out you were going to vote for him anyway. So this was this National Guard story. While it's something that everybody has difficulty with trying to figure out, you are going to vote for Walker anyway. So there's something much deeper going on here than just this article and this National Guard issue. I thought you did a great job. I thought it was the reason why talk radio is important to people. And now the other reason why it's important is because you are upset.
Well,
which you should be. He slandered people off the air, which really doesn't infuriate me. I agree with you.
A guy who gave him a job he wasn't even qualified for. He made him his chief of staff, Mayor Sullivan did. And he's sitting here ripping on him?
I don't get it. I don't like it. I didn't like it. I thought that everything he had to say was totally uncompelling. He didn't even understand that he might have been against Sullivan's plan or Parnell's plan to get us a gas line, but he's even more against Bill Walker's plan, neither of which did he know anything about. I do wonder whether or not he knows anything about this National Guard scandal other than what's been printed in the paper. Because normally you want people to know more about it than what's printed in the paper. There's usually a bigger story going on about it.
I don't know that I've ever interviewed him before, but I don't like him. I know I'm not.
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, you shouldn't be impressed. It wasn't an impressive display.
I don't know. I just don't like him. And I don't like not liking people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that I don't like people. I want to like everybody.
Okay, that's ridiculous. You should just accept that some people you don't like, or you didn't like his presentation.
It's ridiculous to try to like people.
Yeah.
He didn't give you a reason to like him, though.
It's sleazy. Dan Sullivan, man, he's the best mayor the city's ever had. And he's going to be the best governor we've ever had, once he gets in there after Parnell leaves. He's an unbelievable guy.
I didn't understand his approach. I didn't agree with him on any of the things that he said, and he made frankly, I thought he made a fool of himself.
He did make a fool of himself.
He didn't know Sean Parnell's gas plan. He didn't know Bill Walker's gas plan, and he's voting for a man he disagrees with apparently 95% of the time.
Because he's his friend, Bill Walker.
He's going to put in power all the AFL-CIO people who he's been battling against since he's been part of the city government.
Glenn, Dan Kendall is willing to hand the power of running the state over to Vince Beltrami because Bill Walker's his friend. Are you kidding me? You're going to come on this show and say that?
I wish I was.
I'm sorry that I don't like you, Mr. Kendall, but I don't. I'm sorry. I wish I did.
No, you're not.
That's right. 814. I'm sorry. I wish I did.
No, you're not.
That's right. 814.
Don't just sit there. Give them a call. 569-1080. Join the conversation. KOAN.
Well, we are quietly sneaking up on the Halloween season, so let's talk pumpkins. Bell's warm greenhouses are currently home to thousands of potentially very scary pumpkins, and all of them have plenty of character to make your jack-o'-lantern the scariest ever. Best pumpkins, best prices right now at Bell's. By the way, if you've been meaning to get your baskets and tubs into Bell's for wintering over, Specking Road Bell's is full at this point, but Bell's at Cranberry Road has a little room left. But hurry, you don't want to be left out. In the gift shop at Specking Road, there's a nice special on those great smart wool socks. All of them are 25% off. And maybe you should come this weekend with a friend, because this weekend at Specking Road, lattes are 2 for the price of 1, and C's candy bars are 2 for the price of 1. So obviously this would be a good weekend to go shopping with somebody. Remember, October 23, 24, and 25 are the dates for the Big Zapti Silver Restoration Clinic at Bell's on Specking Road. Call 345-4476 to make your appointment with the experts from Zapti. Bell's Nursery and Gifts on Specking Road and Bell's Nursery in Cranberry Road.
I'm Bill Walker, lifelong Alaskan independent candidate for governor. Party politics and weak leadership are hurting Alaska. My gosh, we spent more money studying gas lines, bridges, and roads than it would have cost to build them in the first place. There's been at least a dozen gas line studies, and not one piece of pipe has been ordered. You know, I've been a builder and a leader all of my life. I know what it takes to get a project done. As governor, I will dismiss Study Hall, and together, we'll build a strong, robust Alaska. Come on, Alaska, let's go to work.
Paid for by Bill Walker for governor.
Hi, I'm Cliff Grove, chair of Alaska Common Ground. I'm inviting you to a free public forum on Alaska's fiscal future this Saturday, October 4th, at the Wildemarson Theater at the Lusac Library. It's an all-day forum from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. You can pick the parts you want to go to. Lunch will be available for a small fee, or you can bring your own. At this forum, we'll be taking a nonpartisan look at the big picture of Alaska's public finances and help Alaskans understand Alaska's fiscal future and how we can live with less. This Saturday, October 4th, at the Wildemarson Theater. See you there.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call, 569-1080.
Country Financial, Mike Daniels and his team, 13 locations in Alaska, 5 in Anchorage, 5 in the Valley. They're the very best in the state when it comes to financial planning, preparing for retirement, preparing to pay for your kids' college education one day, making the right choices with your money. Country Financial, long established company with many a satisfied customer, and they have a heavy presence here in Alaska. Mike Daniels heads up Country Financial in Alaska, and I'm telling you, this guy will impress you. His team will impress you. They're going to ask you the right questions. They're going to put you on the right path, whether it's insurance, planning for your finances, tax questions, whatever. Anything involving money, they're all over it. Country Financial, the number 866-COUNTRY, 866-COUNTRY.
COUNTRY.
It's how you spell country. I read a book by a guy, Danny Silk, a while back, and it was the best book I ever read, and it was entitled Culture of Honor. And the basic premise to the book is that we should honor people because they represent life. They are life. You know, we talked, Glenn, you, me, Bonnie, we're very pro-life people. We believe in the value of life. We believe life should be respected and honored and cherished and valued. And the premise of this book is that you honor people not because of their behavior, but because they are a life. They represent life. And basically what Mr. Silk is saying is that you do not let people determine how you treat them. If you treat people based on their behavior, then they are controlling how you treat them, not you. But if you honor people because they represent a life, they're somebody's son or daughter.
All right, they're a human being.
They're human. even with their flaws, you still honor them. And that way you're in control of how you treat people. You're the one empowered. And it's very difficult to do. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. You can go 1,000 examples. Somebody comes on here and tells you that they disagree with Bill Walker and everything, but they're going to vote for him because he's your friend. He's their friend. And then Dan Kendall starts running down Mayor Sullivan during the break, and you want to just lash out at the guy and say, "What's your problem, dude?" But in the culture of honor, you still treat him with respect and honor. Not that you condone behavior, not that you look the other way.
Well, the part that I have difficulty, I don't like pronouncing final judgment on anyone. I didn't like Kendall's presentation. I don't think that it's just that he talked about Dan Sullivan off the air.
The mayor.
I think that was cruel. I think that was unworthy of him. But, he could, we could be friends later on, and maybe he'll change from that. Maybe he'll listen to what we have to say and say, I really shouldn't say any of those things, and maybe he'll learn.
And really what I should have done is I should have confronted him to his face instead of talking about him on air after he left. But as I began to evaluate his appearance, it just kind of came out of me.
Yeah.
But what I should have said is, Dan, why would you criticize a guy, Dan Sullivan, who gave you this great job and had you as his chief of staff?
Yeah, you were part of his team.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want us to take away from you saying that you could tell stories? I mean, that's a cruel thing to say because people don't know what to make of that. And, frankly, you shouldn't be repeating. That's gossip. That's literally running down somebody's their reputation. And you are entitled to your reputation. The things that he may know in confidence, and they may not be the best representations of Dan Sullivan. Frankly, I think he's been a great mayor.
Oh, he's a phenomenal mayor.
Yeah, he's the best mayor. I agree. He's the best mayor we've ever had. But these are very fine lines. You just don't gossip about people, which is what he did.
And the worst kind of gossip is the wide open gossip.
Yeah.
Oh, the stories I can tell.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's worse than saying whatever.
I agree. Well, look, it was an unimpressive appearance. It was very disrespectful. It was very disappointing off air. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Plus the fact that he was disingenuous in his article when he said, "I'm not voting for Sean Parnell because of his handling of the National Guard," which I agree. A lot of troubling aspects to that. But he wasn't. That wasn't a true statement. His true statement was, "I'm voting for Bill Walker because he's my friend, even though I disagree with him on virtually everything."
And I don't even know what he believes.
And I don't know what he believes. Anyway.
We're talking about Dan Kendall, who's a former guest here.
But these people who are using the National Guard issue, I can't even call it a scandal because we don't know very much about it. These people who are using that really are annoying me because
that's all they got on Pornhub.
We don't know. There's no finality to that issue. It's not a scandal because there really hasn't been an investigation that's been released.
Well, here's what I want to hear. First of all, I want Parnell to meet with each and every person who was raped. Right? I think he owes it to them. Secondly, I want to know what he's going to do next.
And we don't know that he hasn't, by the way.
Well, I don't know that he hasn't. That's true. Okay, but that's really what I want to hear. I want to know what the next steps are going to be. I know this is not done. We're not done with this at the National Guard. We do have a new leader who has promised to get things taken care of there. We need updates. It's very important for people to have a sense of closure, especially the people who were directly wronged.
Strikes me as the type of guy who would meet with every victim and not say anything about it.
I agree.
Because that's how he rolls. He's not braggadocious.
Right. He doesn't say much about anything.
No. But that's a quiet strength.
Well, I would have figured it would have come out in the story. I didn't see any mention of that in the story.
What come out?
That he'd met with.
No, but my point is he would do it and not tell anyone.
I agree, but I agree that would be his approach. I would have expected it to come out in the story.
Well, how would it, if he doesn't tell anyone, how would it come out in the story?
They would have asked him, "Have you met with anybody?" Give us your approach. What are you doing about it?
Seems like there's a lot of assumptions here.
Yeah. Well, the problem is in the absence of having good information, which they're presenting, the side against Parnell. I would like to know what his side is.
Well, my problem with the National Guard story is we had the so-called whistleblower in here, and he had some crazy conspiracy theories about Anchorage Police Department killing their own, about the Anchorage Police Department working with the drug cartel. And I don't believe a single word he says based on those theories. I'm not saying what he's saying isn't true. It may be. But the media, they'll take it, and they'll run with if you got something negative about a Republican, conservative, pro-life Republican, they're going to print it as though it's gospel. So when this guy who thinks APD is killing their own says there were 20 women raped, the media will report that as fact. So we don't know.
Well, and technically his numbers changed a lot.
Oh, the whistleblower
yes,
guy?
when he was sitting here, his numbers changed almost by the minute.
Yeah, it was very, yeah. So we don't really even know how it could be a couple of victims in reality.
Well, I don't know. There were plenty of pastors who came out and tried to make the case to Parnell, and that was what the story was about today, where the efforts that they went through to try and get Parnell to recognize there was a problem under his watch, legitimate questions.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Sean Parnell did 2 investigations into Catcus's running of that base. He came up clean. This is a really hard part of leadership, is when you invest somebody with authority.
But Glenn,
generally you allow them to run, their show, and you don't get if there's an investigation and it comes up clean. What are you to think?
But are these pastors going on the word of this crazy, discredited whistleblower who thinks APD is killing their own?
I don't know.
I mean, is that the genesis
of
all this?
As far as the public is concerned, they don't know if the whistleblower was behind the pastors, because now they're putting the pastors out front as writing the letters, contacting Parnell. This is back in 2010 to try and say, hey, we got a problem here on our base. We are dealing with these people, because I think some of the women went to these pastors as well.
You know that?
Yeah, that's what they say in the story.
Okay. And how many women were there?
I don't know.
I mean, because if it's 2 as opposed to 20, that's a big deal. Not that the rape of anyone is justifiable.
Right. But I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable because I kind of look at it from the victim's point of view, and even the whistleblower was here saying, well, they're just getting so frustrated of telling their story so many times that they don't want to relive it. They just want to put it in the past.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate situation, but I have to believe that Parnell, I mean, he has got a good heart. I have to believe that he did what he could, and, he's forwarded it on to a different mediator, it sounds like.
569-1080, 569-1080, that's the number to join the broadcast. Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, Bonnie Cameron. KOAN is where we're broadcasting in Anchorage, KVNT out in the valley. Also, you can watch the show. Go to danfagan.us and watch the show streamed live on video, or listen to us on the internet. We'll take a break. 8:28 is the time. Stay with us.
On with Fagan and Biegel. Give them a call. 569-1080. KOAN.
Local news brought to you by Jansen Funeral Homes, Jansen's Evergreen Memorial Chapel, Jansen's Alaska Cremation Center, and Jansen's Eagle River Funeral Home. Jansen Funeral Homes, where just like family, they're there when you need them.
With KOAN News, I'm Ann Kenda. A tax official in Maryland has said that Alaska U.S. Senate candidate Dan Sullivan did not receive improper tax credits on a home he owns in Maryland. Critics have questioned Sullivan's residency, but he says he's lived in Alaska since 1997 and also owned a house in Maryland while working for the State Department. It's spreading through the lower 48, but a health official says Alaska has not had a case of the respiratory illness known as EVD6A. Dr. Michael Cooper with the state's infectious disease program said it would not be surprising if it cropped up in our state soon, but it hasn't been detected so far. EVD6A has been found in kids in other states and is especially affecting those who already have asthma. Elections officials have reminded voters that this Sunday is the deadline to register to vote in November. Help make important decisions such as whether to legalize pot and raise the minimum wage. That's your Hot Talk News Update.
Mostly sunny skies for today, high 48. Tonight, cold with patchy clouds, low 29. Cloudy for tomorrow, high 43. Friday night, low 33. Saturday, mostly cloudy skies. You'll see a bit of snow with little to no accumulation. High Saturday, 43. Sunday, partly sunny, high 40. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather. KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Chris here along with my buddy Brock. That's right. We're here to tell you to tune into The Beer Show every Saturday at 5 p.m. on 95.5 and 1080 KOAN. The Beer Show is brought to you by Brown Jug Alaska, Eagle River Ale House, Great Artisan Beverages, and the Odom Corporation. Please drink responsibly.
BeyondMovie.com.
A better life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
You can boost your attention span by clocking in some extra miles on the treadmill. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent. A new study published in the medical journal PLOS ONE found that athletes are able to focus and hold attention span longer on seemingly boring tasks as compared to couch potatoes. Researchers say that exercising has this ripple effect on the entire body. So exercise makes your heart strong. That can pump healthy blood and oxygen throughout your body and your brain. That could help boost cognitive function. Now, you don't have to be a super athlete to get the attention span boost. Other studies have shown that people who engage in aerobic exercise, anything from ice skating to taking a brisk walk at least 2 days a week, they have better concentration levels than non-exercisers. If you've been stuck at your desk all day, simply standing up can help. This simple act tells your brain it's now time to be alert. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Mm-hmm.
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-467-7530. 800-467-7530.
Here's my good friend, Keith Monternock.
Automotive repairs can be frustrating. Let me help. Call 349-1637. I have been in business for nearly 20 years at the same location. Specialty Truck and Auto is in South Anchorage behind the Long Branch Saloon where Diamond becomes Abbott. I have 6 ASE certified technicians working from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. I have a voucher for any of the 6 Alaska Laser Wash locations for each customer. If you schedule ahead and need a ride when you drop your vehicle off, I may be able to help. Call Specialty Truck and Auto, 349-1637.
When Malarkey Mark Begich ran for U.S. Senator, he made a lot of claims about his record as Anchorage mayor. Begich knew the truth wouldn't come to light before the election. But now, history is caught up with Malarkey Mark. Under Begich, Anchorage taxes went up 27%. Under Begich, the city budget ballooned, a $142 million increase in spending. Under Begich, the city was saddled with unprecedented 5-year union contracts. Under Begich, a deficit of over $20 million was left for the next mayor to deal with. Begich left Anchorage in serious trouble. Alaska's Energy, America's Values paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. It's time to replace Malarkey Mark with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com.
Hot Talk KOA.
From 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., you can pick the parts you want to go to. Lunch will be available for a small fee, or you can bring your own. At this forum, we will be taking a nonpartisan look at the big picture of Alaska's public finances and help Alaskans understand Alaska's fiscal future and how we can live with less. This Saturday, October 4th, at the Wilder-Marson Theater. See you there.
Fagan and Biegel, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m.
8:35, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie here on a Thursday morning. Chugach Chiropractic, Dr. Myron Swigert and his team, Dr. Madden. Great bunch of folks, great facility, state-of-the-art medical equipment, just the very best. And what they're good at Chugach Chiropractic is having you deal with pain in your life, physical pain. And they're the very best. They're just absolutely the very best. I've been out there. They adjusted me. I found out that my right foot was a little shorter than my left foot, and so they gave me a little orthopedic thing that I put in my shoe, and it's made all the difference in the world. I actually can feel the difference now. I'm balanced. And just little things like that can really revolutionize and change your life. Glenn lost 45 pounds out there, and they're just the best. They're the best at making you healthy and whole and pain-free. And natural solutions. We're not talking about surgery or anything like that. Go see the folks at Chugach Chiropractic. Dr. Myron Swigert, we've had him on the show. He's a brilliant guy. Brilliant guy. The number 694-9224. 694-9224. Time currently 8:37. Our phone number here at the radio show, 569-1080, 569-1080. Chris, you're on the phone.
Hey, Dan. I was really kind of disappointed by this Kendall appearance, and I'll give you 2 or 3 reasons why. One, I don't think we've had a full investigation.
Now, hold on, Chris, let me just set it up for people who just joined us. Dan Kendall, former assembly member in Anchorage, was here in the studio. He wrote a column in the the Alaska Dispatch News that he's going to vote for Bill Walker because of the way the governor handled the National Guard scandal as it is. But really, under questioning, he admitted that Mr. Kendall admitted that he's going to vote for Bill Walker because he's Bill Walker's friend, and he was always going to vote for Bill Walker, even if the National Guard thing had never happened. That's what you're alluding to. But go ahead, Chris.
2 or 3 things. One, I wish I could say this, but the Dispatch News, both before the name change and with the current management, has never been fair to conservatives, and they've always so you can't really take their word for it. And we don't have a full investigation yet. We haven't had all the facts published yet, so you can't rely on the newspaper or to honestly report what's going on, and you can't, the full report hasn't been, so we can't really draw any conclusions yet. And the other thing that I think is really important is that in general, Sean Parnell is going to be, and Republicans and conservatives are much more strict on crime. I can't. It's just a fact that Democrats are easier on crime than Republicans, and they're trying to play this hypocritical game where, on the one hand, they will say that that Governor Parnell hates women and he doesn't punish this crime, but on the other hand, when you ask about, well, what about all these things that cause crime, like drug abuse and drinking and
welfare,
keeping people in jail and all that stuff, keeping people in jail who commit crimes and swiftly punishing them and all that, they're easy on that. And I don't I don't know the full circumstances, and we can't say, Governor Parnell handled this perfectly. But in general, you have to say, the fact is that throwing people in jail for a really long time and swiftly punishing people.
Do you want to know what he's doing now, Chris, and what he's going to do in the future, which is what I really want to hear?
I want to hear, well, first of all, anybody who's in the National Guard and did this stuff is under the UCMJ, which is different than civil law. And
UCMJ,
I believe they're under the
military.
Code of Military Justice, which
Right.
means they could hang for this particular crime, and that wouldn't bother me one bit.
Yeah.
And I want to hear that someone who's such a terrible personal crime as well as a disgusting abuse of authority and all that, I want the book thrown at him. And the truth is that conservatives and Republicans are much, much more likely to do that because they realize how terrible it is than liberals, who are going to be more forgiving and talk about circumstances and blah 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 blah. That is just not as effective. And Governor Parnell, I'm sure he feels terrible about it. And again, he's the kind of guy that's not going to talk about it much. But I don't.
But he's got to. If he feels terrible about it, I want to know what he's doing now, and I want to know what he's going to do.
Well,
right?
I hope
This
he's.
guy in
I hope
Parnell,
he's
man. What's the deal?
Fair enough.
He's holding him accountable. That's
I'm
okay.
holding him accountable. That's exactly right.
and that needs to come out, I think.
Yeah.
And that needs to be done very carefully, both to respect the people who have been abused and to make sure that it's not that it's done in a balanced and non-sensationalist way. But the fact is that under a not that Walker and Millott have done this, but there have been Democrats who've run campaigns catering to, quote, the ex-offender community, and that is to say criminals.
Trying to give them a vote. Want to get felons to vote. That was one of their approaches in California to try and keep Republicans out of control.
That's right, and so whether we like it or not, party politics involve parties, and if you support Mark Begich, it's more likely that over Dan Sullivan, it's more likely that criminals are going to have more influence in the Senate than if the Republicans control the Senate. And the same is true with the state and the local issues, and that's just the way it is. And so, Mr. Kendall knows all this stuff, and to support Walker and Millott over this crime issue is I think disingenuous.
Well, that's just the excuse he was using.
Yeah, I know.
You got to go at him on something because he doesn't know what Parnell's gas line plan is. He doesn't know what Bill Walker's gas line plan is. He doesn't really know anything about the issues, so he's just picking out the obvious scandal that. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's what Dan Kendall was doing.
It's playing on people's emotions.
Yeah.
That's what they do best.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And so we have to take a step back and think about this a little bit more than just he's my buddy.
Right.
Thank you, Chris.
So, anyway, thank you very much.
569-1080, 569-1080. That's the number. Tom, you're on.
Good morning.
Morning.
I was actually on the phone and going to call in and correct something that is generally thought and correct what the last caller said. People in the National Guard are not subject to the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. They are subject to the state and federal laws just like you and I. So
there should have been an APD investigation.
It should be an APD or
state trooper
or FBI.
That's right.
So Sean Parnell and the military hierarchy in the National Guard, actually their hands are tied unless APD or the troopers or the FBI comes in and investigates and brings charges through that system.
Well, and Tom, even going further than that, Katkus knew all this. He was in the APD, was way high up in the APD. He knew exactly how they worked, and he claimed this is being investigated by the police department. We have forwarded this on already. There are investigations underway. He tried to make everything look. This guy was a master at deception. That's who Katkus was. Parnell didn't figure him out. Neither did anybody else.
Right, and so Parnell is now doing the right thing. He's firing the right people, and he is making sure that investigations are taking place. So I applaud Sean Parnell for his action in this.
What do you make of Kendall? Actually, hang on, Tom. I want to talk to you after the break.
Okay, sure.
We'll be back right after this. What do you make of Kendall? Actually, hang on, Tom. I want to talk to you after the break.
Okay, sure.
We'll be back right after this.
Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
Construction and remodel firm. From our handyman services to our award-winning kitchen design and remodel, Trail Boss Solutions is fully licensed, bonded, and insured, and has the experienced professionals to take your project from initial design through completion on time and on budget. Please visit us on the web at trailboss-solutions.com or contact Trail Boss Solutions Direct at 646-1403.
You know, it's getting to the end of the season for fresh silvers, and if you haven't filled your freezer for the winter, this is definitely the weekend to do it. Right now, at New Sagayan City Market, you can buy the whole silver salmon for just $4.99 a pound. Whole fish, we'll clean them, and you can put them in the freezer, $4.99 a pound. New Sagayan City Market. Oh, it's so popular. We're featuring fresh Hawaiian-style poke again this week. The great marinated fish with spices and onions and stuff, and a great big favorite in Anchorage as well as in the islands. Fresh Hawaiian poke, just $9.99 a pound. Of course, you'll find it at New Sagayan City Market. Family loves pork chops? Well, New Sagayan City Market have the economical way to buy them. Get the big family pack of fresh pork chops, just $3.49 a pound. And if a family pack is too big for dinner tonight, take out what you need and freeze the rest. Low price, $3.49 a pound. Fresh pork chops, New Sagayan City Market. The apples are as sweet as honey and as crisp as a November morning. So they're called Honey Crisp apples. Great flavor, great eating, $1.89 a pound. New Sagayan, Midtown City Market, 13th and I.
Hi, my name is Mike Ferris, president of Alaska Enterprise Solutions. We are the face of Xerox in Alaska. Xerox is a trendsetter, and AES Xerox is following in those footsteps. We are the document management experts, specializing in short-term rentals of copiers and scanners. We have offices in Anchorage and Fairbanks, and we are your Xerox professional agency with an Alaska focus and worldwide support. You can reach us at aesalaska.com or 561-5100.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk.
Even on Anwar. How can you deliver Anwar, Mark, when Harry Reid says a Democrat-controlled Senate will never allow an Anwar vote? Alaskans can't trust a thing Begich says. It's time to replace Malarkey Mark with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan.
Fagan, Biegel. Weekdays, 6 to 9 a.m. The Talk of the Valley.
All right, welcome back. Dan Fagan, Glen Biegel, Bonnie Cameron, 8:47 in the morning on a Thursday morning, I believe would be the day, Thursday morning. Glad you're here. Glad you're with us. We're talking to Tom. Tom, did you by any chance hear Dan Kendall on the broadcast earlier?
I did not, but I did read his editorial, I don't know when it was, yesterday, I think. And, you know, and it sounds like Dan Kendall has supported Bill Walker, does support Bill Walker. And because he was on the Assembly for 9.5 years and because he was the chief of staff under Mayor Sullivan for a year, he's the type of person that the newspaper, who is very liberal, would try to find to support their case that we should have a Democratic governor.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's just that. I mean, here's, you know, they've gone out, the Alaska Dispatch and Brian Lott, Bill Walker have found about 12 Republicans in the state of Alaska that support their candidacy.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I would imagine that Dan Sullivan, the mayor, and Sean Parnell, the governor, could probably find more than 12 Democrats that support their candidacy, but they don't own a newspaper.
Right.
You know, the newspaper, they own the Inc.
Right.
And they are liberal.
Yes.
And so, you know, we're going to hear from these 12 Republicans.
Well, I will tell you, I was so disappointed in Dan Kendall. First of all, he gets on here, doesn't know, because he admitted the only reason he's voting for Bill Walker is because he's his friend. He admitted he disagrees with Bill Walker on most things. Didn't really even know what Bill Walker stood for. Am I exaggerating here, Glenn?
No, not even on his gas line. He didn't even know what his plan was on that.
And he also told us that if the National Guard scandal had never happened, he was still going to vote for Walker because Walker's his friend, which is very disingenuous for those who read his column, because he gives the impression that he's going to vote for Walker because of the National Guard scandal. Turns out that's not even true.
And the National Guard scandal, like I said, and there's a lot of military and retired military in the state of Alaska, and I was one that thought that the National Guard members were under the UCMJ, and then so I did some checking, and I found out, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
That they are subject to civilian laws and penalties. So, I've known of cases here in Spenard where, there's a white slavery dude that it took the FBI 15 years to put him in jail.
Wow.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
There's some bad people out there that have been doing bad things for a long, long time. And sometimes the wheels of justice turn very, very slowly.
Sure.
But generally, we get the guy that's the bad guy. And Sean Parnell, I think, has pushed the case so hard and so far that it's all going to finally be investigated. But it's because of Sean Parnell that the feds came in and investigated the National Guard and says, yes, there is a problem here, and that with that report, Sean can then go to the local law enforcement and say, why in the heck haven't you done anything?
Yeah.
And so Sean has a long record of supporting the rights of women.
Yeah. Well, I remember his inaugural address when he became lieutenant governor and with Palin. It was up in Fairbanks.
Right.
I remember him specifically bringing up domestic violence in rural Alaska, and it kind of, when I heard it, I said, wow, people don't typically talk about that, and he's really made that a centerpiece of his administration. And I'm telling you, that's a courageous thing to do.
It is, because it's usually just shoved under the table.
Yes.
It's, if a guy beats his wife, we just don't talk about it. Yes,
right.
We should talk about it. And Sean has the courage to do that.
Yes.
And that's why I think with 4 more years of him in office, maybe we can finally start getting a handle on this problem that's been around forever.
Yeah.
So, and Dan Sullivan also has a strong record in that area. So, between the two of them, I'm looking for great things to happen.
How do you see the race going? Do you think Parnell's going to win?
Oh yeah, I think so. Like I say, the Alaska Dispatch has spent a tremendous amount of effort finding those 12 Republicans that might support Bill Walker.
Did Begich get any gloves landed on him down in was it Kodiak? The Kodiak debate.
Kodiak fish debate. I read what was in the newspaper, and I've heard different pundits on different radio shows, and it sounded like the crowd liked Mark Begich and liked what Mark Begich was saying, and but that's a fairly small group out of Seattle.
Yes.
So there again, do you give them much credence? Because the fishing industry is owned in Seattle.
That's right.
And we're listening to the 2 senators from Seattle, the Murray and Cantwell.
Our 2 best friends
are trying to make Alaska their colony.
Yeah.
Actually, they're trying to make sure that Alaska stays their colony.
Well, Begich brought Cantwell up here for a fundraiser.
Oh, I know he did. And Mark Begich, he's doing every devious thing possible to hang on to a seat.
How do you see that race going?
I think that at the end of the day, an old guy I used to talk to, Jay Hammond, used to say, the voters usually get it right in the end. And I think that the voters will get it right this time. Dan Sullivan will become our senator. Sean Parnell will go back to the governor's office. Dan Sullivan's going to be the lieutenant governor. And things are really looking up for Alaska.
Well, I don't know how you feel, Tom, but I like Parnell, and I think he's a good governor. I think he's a good record. But I cannot wait until Mayor Dan becomes our governor and starts pushing for right-to-work legislation and gets in there and stands up to these unions. It's going to be fun to watch.
And you remember, Dan, when Frank Murkowski said the future's flipping sweet for Alaska?
Yeah.
I think that Sean Parnell should say, and I'm putting the cherry on top.
There you go. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, have a good day.
Appreciate it. Can you imagine Mayor Dan as governor taking on those?
He'll still have to have a very, very solidified legislature. You put a Bert Stedman, Gary Stevens in there, who are really Democrats that just run in Republican areas. You know, we still have a lot of work to do. When push comes to shove, the governor cannot do anything on his own. He needs a good team.
Mayor Dan is Vince Beltrami's worst nightmare. And there's lots of things the governor can do, Glenn, especially when it comes to the budget. I mean, you know Dan Sullivan's going to use that veto pen. He's going to slash that budget.
Yeah, and the reason why Vince Beltrami, who's the head of the AFL-CIO, they're the people who organized this.
And he's running on the Bill Walker
Unity ticket. Yeah, he's basically the silent partner on the Unity ticket.
Not so silent.
The reason that Dan Sullivan, the mayor, he's had a long history with this guy. And he knows exactly what Vince Beltrami put into all these union contracts where they limited the ability for people to actually bid for city contracts.
Yes.
This is how bad it is, by the way. I just heard the story just yesterday. The guy who got the award before Begich was in office for government contracting work, for excellence in government contracting, could not bid on a job after Mark Begich signed his 2008 contracts. The guy who won the award was recognized
because of the limitations put in by the union.
He could no longer bid on the contracts. He was no longer allowed to. So the guy who we got rid of award-winning contractors in order to feather the nest of Vince Beltrami.
Wow.
All you really need to know about Mark Begich is that, the IBEW, for example, electrical work, telephone poles, whatever. If you want to, Begich put in with the IBEW contract that if you are a non-union contractor and you want to bid on a job for the city, you first have to go down to the IBEW headquarters and write them a check to get the job.
Wow.
That's not payola. That doesn't sound like payola to me. That sounds really, really reasonable to me.
It's extortion in its purest form. That's all you need to know about Mark Begich. And then, of course, the IBEW gave him gobs and gobs of cash.
They're so powerful because they control Chugach Electric.
Yeah.
I think the average pay at Chugach Electric pay and benefits is over $150,000, and I think it's approaching $160,000.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Don't you think that shock people that people over at Chugach Electric are paid that much? That's just out of control.
And what gets me is this new ad out there by Jim Whitaker and the other Republicans.
Who's a left-wing guy, by the way.
And they say, well, I'm a Republican. I'm voting for Mark. Please, you're not a Republican if you're voting for Mark Begich. And if you're not voting for Dan Sullivan, I would disagree that you're voting for Mark Begich. But... dear.
Why? We had a nice show going. I mean, honestly,
all gonna
it's peace and harmony, kumbaya, and you gotta stick that in there.
Listen, this is my final thought on that.
Oh, boy.
I am giving my vote to Dan Sullivan so that he can earn my vote in the next 6 years for the next time.
All right, I like
so
that.
I would hope that people follow that.
The most conservative Alaskan ever to run for the Senate. And you're going to make him earn
to keep him conservative.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yes,
I like that.
yes, and I would hope that other people decide that too. Give him your vote this time so he can earn it over the next 6 years for the next time.
Joe Miller was for the largest tax increase in the history of Alaska. That's all I got to say about it.
He said no.
No, I'm talking about ACEs. He loved ACEs. He told me. We argued about it. 8:58, folks. We're done. Dan Sullivan for Senate.
Woohoo.
That's how you're going to end the show?
See you tomorrow. We're done. Yeah, that's it. You want to say something? You want to add something?
No.
See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Be sure to catch them every weekday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. on Hot Talk KOAN 95.1 FM, 1080 a.m. and online at 1080KOAN.com.